Tommy Boyd on BBC Southern Counties Radio. The sound of Sussex.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, this boxer rings up his agent, and he says, I want you to get me one last fight. And his agent says, no, he said, you're through with fighting. He said, no, before I retire, I want one last fight. And the agent says, I'm not going to put you in the ring again. He said, because boxing has taken its toll. You're what they used to call punch drunk. I'm not punch drunk, the boxer says. I want one last fight. I want to fight Tiger McGraw. And the agent says, you're not going in the ring again, and you're certainly not fighting Tiger McGraw. Boxing has taken its toll. You're what we used to call punch drunk. I'm not punch drunk. I want to fight Tiger McGraw. Everywhere I go, everybody says to me, Tiger McGraw this, Tiger McGraw that. He's getting under my skin. I want to fight him, and I'm not punch drunk. And the agent says, you are punch drunk. You are Tiger McGraw. Sorry, it's a good joke. 084 5957 0057. Henry Cooper in 5 minutes. We're talking about boxing and this film Rocky Balboa, which is out, in which apparently makes a comeback at 50. Switchboard 07786 2070 70. Email tommy.boyd@bbc.co.uk. Switchboard 0845 957 0057. Probably won't be time to chat to him, but you can pass your question on to Jenny and we'll ask Sir Henry. What we're talking about is this new film Rocky Balboa is coming out soon, and I think it's going to be absolutely huge. I've seen a couple of stills from it. You know what it is? Sylvester Stallone hasn't made a Rocky movie, and he didn't like the last one, which Rocky 5, was it? Says he didn't like it. And he's been away from the Rocky projects for 15 years, and now he's got this idea, and he's made Rocky, whatever it is, Rocky Balboa, they're calling it, not Rocky 6, and I like the storyline because what happens is the heavyweight champion of the world, who is unstoppable, big black boxer, is pitted against the former Rocky Balboa in a computer match, which they have done. And apparently Rocky beats the guy. And the guy is so incensed by this that he says he wants to fight Rocky for real, and so it happens. But boxing is such an interesting sport. It's the ultimate sport, because all sport really is about one-on-one. It's about you v the other guy. And in what clearer form does that take place than boxing? In football, it's over a ball. In cricket, it's over a ball. Even swimming is a kind of a stylized competition, but in boxing, it is pure sport. And it's male competitiveness, and nowadays female competitiveness at its most honest. Is it cruel? Is it dangerous? Possibly. Would I miss it if they banned it? Kind of. I wouldn't mind if they did, but whilst it's around, I love it. I love it to bits. I wish Fraudley Harrison would get on and get his world heavyweight fight. He's going to be 57 himself at the rate he's going. Talking to Sir Henry Cooper is going to be just such fun, because I know he's met Sylvester Stallone and has thoughts, and will have thoughts as well, about when a sports person has really reached their peak and then gone past their prime. It does seem to me in boxing it's very hard for a boxer to make it beyond the age of 37. So we're talking boxing, and we're talking about just what kind of fitness you've got left once you reach your 50s. Plenty of people take up running and end up doing their first marathon well into their 50s. So if the body can do that, why can't the body still play a good game of tennis or a good game of football or get into a boxing ring? Monk Snatch with Knobs on. We've got Alison is in Portslade Village, and she's got... Where is the village? I lived on the borders of Portslade for 10 years. I didn't know there was a village there. But that's where she is. That's a little bit later on. The beast of the day is a very interesting one. It is the carousel horse. Those lovely, if you like them, white horses with those candy stick poles sticking out of them. For some reason, the roundabout was always playing It's Not Unusual by Tom Jones whenever I got on it. If it was with a young girl and she was sitting next to me, then I found it quite romantic. Otherwise, I thought it was the biggest waste of sixpence at the fun fair myself. But the beast of the day is the carousel horse. We've got the J Hour from 3. I'll explain when we get a bit closer. We're still playing Weight Listeners, helping you just maybe shift a couple of stubborn pounds by simply getting you to think back over the last 24 hours. What have you eaten, and did you really need to eat all of it. We've got a lovely chinwag coming up from around about 2:30. Oh, and we've got keys and swimming pools and tons of stuff. It's the afternoon show, BBC Southern Counties Radio. Sir Henry Cooper, next.
Home cooking, home cooking.
What is the truth about food? A new series on BBC Two searches for the answers. Can oily fish really help to reduce your stress levels? And is garlic a natural alternative to Viagra? Do tomatoes prevent sunburn? And can soup really keep you slim? Each week, celebrity presenters will show you how food really can improve your life. The Truth About Food begins with Fiona Bruce on how to eat healthily. This Thursday night at 9 on BBC Two.
It's T-Rex and Get It On. It's 22 minutes past 1 on the afternoon show, BBC Southern Counties Radio. And we're talking a little bit about boxing and keeping fit in your 50s and whether it's conceivable that anybody could put together a decent show in a boxing ring aged 50 plus. And real honour to be able to ask somebody who'll know more about this than anybody else, which is the truly great Sir Henry Cooper, who's on the line. Sir Henry, good afternoon.
Well, good afternoon, yeah.
I know you've met Sylvester Stallone, haven't you? And the story goes you were quite surprised he's not a heavyweight in real life.
Well, I was quite surprised because I met him up in Birmingham in a television studio. He was working there and I had just done something and they said, oh, could I be introduced to him? So I went there and there he was, like sitting down. As he stood up, he did the old, like he was sort of bare-chested for some reason. I don't know, he was just getting ready for something. He did the old thing of the inhalation, and pulling all the pecs out and said, oh, please, but he could have only been about 5'10" or 11 and about, I suppose, top whack weight, 13, 14 stone.
Yeah, I
There's
think...
me thinking he was about 6'2" and about, 15, 16 stone.
Mind you, heavyweights getting bigger and bigger, aren't they?
Well, they are. The modern-day fighters, yeah, they're just, some of them are too big, really. Yeah.
Have you heard about this bloke who boxes out of Russia, Vladimir Valuev?
Valuev, yeah, he was, 7 foot or something, yeah. Well, see, we had one in the old days when I was boxing. We had a guy called Emil Potgieter. He was a South African. He was 7'2".
No.
He was 7'2" and he weighed, 22 stone. And his feet were like 4 or 5 inches high.
Yeah.
He couldn't come up on his toes, or he couldn't move, and sometimes they're too big,
Yeah. Was Primo Carnera anything of a boxer? He was a big lad.
Well, see, Carnera was an underrated, but yeah, but see, Carnera was nowhere near like 7 foot. Carnera was 6'5.5", and Jess Willard always pipped him as the tallest heavyweight champion because he was 6'6". But I mean, you're talking about men now. I mean, 6'5" and 6'6", nothing now. I mean, they're all, they're all getting now 7 foot.
Yes. Let's talk about the age side of it, though, because I believe Rocky Balboa is supposed to be 54, 5, 6, 7, 57, something like that. And he's supposed to get in the ring with the world heavyweight champion. That's Hollywood, isn't it? That's not real life.
That's film world, Hollywood, as you say. That don't happen in real life, unfortunately. Or fortunately, let's put it that way.
What about yourself? When did you decide enough's enough? How old were you?
Well, I was 37 and I had a good innings as ever. I had 17 years as a professional fighter. I turned pro in 1954 and retired in 71.
37 is about it, isn't it? Because I believe that was Joe Louis' age when he had his last fight.
Well, he retired just that little bit before that, yeah.
And Muhammad Ali was about
Muhammad Ali was, he was like 33. They wasn't 37.
But you get the odd one or two goes. Wasn't there somebody called Archie Moore who was getting on for
Archie Moore, yeah. He boxed when he was about 40, 41.
Oh, right.
Yeah, he was light heavyweight champion. What a great fighter,
Yeah.
I mean, he had arms like tree trunks, used to cross them, and he used to hide behind his arms,
Yeah.
You couldn't hit his body.
and didn't old George Foreman have one fight in his mid-40s for the heavyweight title?
Well, I think so, yeah. I think see, 40 basically, I mean, to be honest, big men, they mature later in life. Oh, see, that's why you'll get the heavy men, the heavyweights. They can go on that bit longer than the little guys. Little guys, most little fighters, like the littler fighters, they have to make weight. And every time you make that weight, if you have to make it, you take something out your system that you never put back. So the little guys finish that much earlier than the big guys.
That is very, very interesting. I'd never thought about that, but you're absolutely right. Thinking about it. So in actual fact, Audley Harrison's still a boy.
Well, he's still a boy, basically.
He's just coming into his maturity, yeah. A couple of things. Are you still playing golf? I always remember being up at a golf club, and there was this reverential hush went through the whole clubhouse because you were pottering past in your buggy. I do know you know how much respect you command, dear boy.
Well, it's no, that's lovely. Yeah, but you've got the public's affection. It's marvellous. Yeah.
Well, you are an unofficial world heavyweight champion because if Cassius's boys,
we nearly achieved it, but not quite. We achieved everything else. We had in them days we had an empire. So I was British. I was the Empire champion, and I was the European champion. But we never just got the world title. Unfortunately, there was a lot of good fighters around in them days.
There were. They're drying up, aren't they? What's happened to American boxing?
Well, as I say, I mean, if you look at there's 7 or 8 now different governing bodies in boxing now. They've all got their own champions. The 4 Eastern Bloc countries, like the old Russia, now it's all split up. You've got the 4 champions coming from them countries. They're the world heavyweight champions. America's got no champions. We've got no champions. Not heavyweights, anyway. Yeah.
Just a quick thing. This is very much a sort of a family thing talking to you here, because I'll tell you why. My father was lucky enough to have sparred with your brother George.
Gotcha, yeah.
And the lady who's presenting from our outside broadcast this afternoon, Alison Ferns, I think it was her uncle, Hughie Ferns, had a very dubious fight with you.
Yeah.
Do you remember it at all?
Yeah, I know that name.
He caught you a low one.
Oh, yeah, I know. Well, every now and again that happens.
They threw him out of the ring.
Yeah.
I remember talking about that. I do remember seeing a picture in the paper
that rings a bell.
You got Hughie Ferns, yeah. You fought an Italian once for the European title who kept coming in low, I remember.
Oh, yeah, he hit me 3 times. We all fighters wear protectors, and I had this aluminium protector, like ribbed aluminium, and it was concave when I got out of it. He hit me 3 times, dead centre.
Oh,
dead middle stump, as they say.
I expect you'll get to see this movie, so don't laugh out loud, will you?
No. Well, I mean, they're good movies. Let's be honest. I mean, Stallone, he does a good job that way. But I mean, them days where you used to see your old grandmother walk into the arena and you'd be knocked all over the pillar of post, and then suddenly you come back and win. That's all fantasy,
I could talk to you all day. You're such a legend. It's been great of you to give us 10 minutes. Look after yourself. Love to the family and everything.
Well, thank you very much, and I wish you and all your listeners a happy New Year.
Nice one. Sir Henry Cooper, what can you say? Well, if you had to pick a bloke who would kind of like sum up what it is to be an ideal English bloke over the last 100 years, so the 20th century, I can't think of many people, besides Sir Henry Cooper, or Henry, as, he really is, who would be spot on for the job. So there we are, we're talking about boxing and sport, and what happens to you when you hit 37, and can you look after yourself when you're 50? Are there men still playing Sunday morning football games at 50? I bet there are a few. Plenty of men age 50 are down the gym, but, are they any good? Can they pump iron? Cricket is kind to men who are making old bones, and then of course there's golf. But what is it that goes, if anything at all, once you start getting into your 50s? 08459 570057. It's the afternoon show, BBC Southern Counties Radio. Good afternoon, I'm Tommy Boyd. Less mild with a fresh westerly breeze, maximum 11 centigrade, 52 Fahrenheit. Outlook for Thursday to Saturday, rain clearing to sunny spells and occasional showers on Thursday. Further rain at times on Friday and Saturday, and windy also at times.
Tommy Boyd on BBC Southern Counties Radio.
Talking to Alison Ferns a little bit later on. She's in Portslade for us, which is our Monk Snatch with knobs on place. Monk Snatch is where we have a Monk Snatch machine that contains the names of all the villages and towns in Sussex, Surrey, North East Hampshire. And each day we pick one at random and just find out a little bit about it. Occasionally we do a Monk Snatch with knobs on, which means that we send Alison Ferns out to that place to see what she can dig up. And she's in Portslade. Portslade Village there isn't. I was right, but she's in Portslade for us on that today. If you know anything about Portslade or have views on Portslade or anything, any inside info on Portslade, anybody famous come from Portslade, lives in Portslade? 08459 570057.
That's what he goes there for, is to unlock the door. Well, those around him criticize and sleep. Through a fractal on a breaking wall, I see you, my friend, and touch your face again. Miracles will happen as we dream. Gonna survive unless we get a little crazy. No, we're never gonna survive unless we are a little crazy. Yellow people walking through my head. One of them's got a gun, shoot the other one. They were friends at school. The fall were there when we first took the bill. They'll be bad, be bad, be bad, be bad. Miracles will happen as we speak. But we're never gonna survive. We get a little crazy. No, we're never gonna survive unless we are a little no, never survive unless we get a little
and Crazy. I think I just prefer the other Crazy, don't you? 22 to just coming out. It's 23 minutes to 2 if you want to be absolutely pedantic about it. Now, have a little chat with Pauline, who has called from Brighton, who wants to talk a little bit about boxing. Hello, Pauline.
Hello, dear.
Yeah.
Now, about boxing, I'm not an expert, but I don't like to see it. I feel it is a very uncivilized a game, actually, because I remember way back when Muhammad Ali, his last fight, I think he had brain damage, I believe, And I don't think, even to watch it, it's not very civilized. And I think it's about time we moved on now. Moved away completely from that form of shall I say, entertainment. I wouldn't call it entertainment, sport. So that's the way I feel about it, my dear.
I find some of the fouling that goes on in rugby in particular, but also in football as well, a lot more dangerous.
Oh, no. Completely different. Completely different sport altogether. They might injure an ankle or something like that. But
Well, no, I mean, there was a case only last year of 2 New Zealand rugby players who picked up their British Lions captain, the Irish guy, and speared him into the ground.
Well, I didn't see that. I didn't hear that.
Could have killed him.
Yes, well, that's unusual, really, isn't it, really, in rugby?
Could have killed him.
Yes, but that is very, very unusual. But I think boxing is very uncivilized now, and I think it's about time that we moved on from it, really. Looking at 2 people beating themselves to death in a boxing ring, to me, I wouldn't call it not entertainment by our sport either. It's just not on now. I think it's about time now, as we are supposed to be the most civilized species on this planet. But are we? That's the question mark.
All right, let's think about it. I mean, there are more uncivilised things, it seems to me, many more uncivilised things go on in domestic circumstances and in workplaces than boxing.
Well, that is different altogether. I mean, boxing is a sport and people pay to watch it and they bet on it. What happens in the home, domestic violence, is not very nice. I completely agree with you. But you don't get a lot of it, do you?
The other thing is, have you noticed how intelligent and wise boxers have become compared to other sportsmen? Nowadays, when you see... did you hear Henry Cooper just chatting then?
No, I didn't, actually.
Oh, you should have done. That was delicious. Best 10 minutes of chat on the radio I've had for a long time. I don't know how old Henry is now, but he's got more brain cells than I've ever had. And what a gentleman.
Yeah.
What a noble man. As was Muhammad Ali. Can you think of a 20th century hero, perhaps with the exception of Mandela and Gandhi, greater than Muhammad Ali?
Well, I couldn't compare them with Muhammad Ali, really, Gandhi. No way could I compare him with these people.
Why not?
Well, he's a different, what shall I say, he's a very civilized person, highly intelligent, and he loves the human race. There's a big difference, isn't there?
Which one are we talking about here?
We're talking about Gandhi.
Okay, but you could have said... I didn't know whether you were talking about Muhammad Ali, because those things apply
Gandhi.
to him. But those things apply to Ali.
Well, I don't know, dear. I really don't know. Anybody that's going to go into a boxing ring and beat another person to death, to me, I'm just speaking for myself, is very uncivilized.
Yes.
If you want to beat somebody up, I mean, like you say, in the home we do. We do have domestic violence, we do. But if you're going to go into it and show the world that, oh yes, I can beat this man to death, he can't touch me, I'm a better fighter than him. To me, that's a load of rubbish, really, to be quite frank with you.
I'm grateful for your call, Pauline. I have to disagree with you. I think that Muhammad Ali is one of the noblest men of the 20th century, and he was also a boxer who loves the sport and respects it.
Yeah, but he was damaged, wasn't he? Brain damaged, wasn't he, with it?
Not necessarily. The jury's out on that one. Yes.
All right,
And
my
in
dear.
any case, he's happy. And he said himself, he's happy being Muhammad Ali with whatever the world has done to him. And the world did some pretty horrible things to him.
Yeah.
Such as, for example, when he came back from the Olympics with his gold medal, they still wouldn't let him eat in a restaurant with white people.
Oh, well, that's America, isn't it? I lived in the States as well, and
No, you'll find that racism
they're terrible
exists
in the
elsewhere.
States, but not in this country.
No, that
this
isn't
is
the
the most
point.
civilized country on this planet.
But-
Everybody is welcome, whatever the race.
Possibly.
And there's room for everybody.
Possibly. However, the point is that Muhammad Ali decided to take issue with racism in the United States and to take issue with America's foreign policy in Vietnam.
Yeah, but will he win, or did he win? I don't know about
Yes,
that.
he did.
But the Ku Klux Klan are still out there, aren't they?
It's a good point you make. The Ku Klux Klan indeed are still out there. I don't think so. But thank you for your call. Pauline in Brighton, not a fan of boxing. Alison Ferns, A, is in Portslade, our monk snatch with knobs on place of the day. And B, is a huge fan of boxing, although, Alison, Sir Henry Cooper, not a huge fan of your Uncle Huey.
No. I think old Uncle Huey was disqualified for rabbit punching. I think that's how the story goes. No great surprises there, eh? A cheating Ferns.
A cheating Ferns. Now, where are you? What can you see in Portslade? I can tell that it's windy.
It is extremely windy. I'm being blown to bits in Portslade this afternoon, or as those selling their homes here like to call it, West Hove. Now, I believe Portslade is what they call a conurbation of Brighton and Hove. It's split into two distinct parts. To the north, there's Portslade Village, and that still looks really very rural. Little flint buildings, a village green, and the small parish church of St Nicholas, which is the second oldest church in the city. And then to the south lies Portslade by Sea, which many years ago was known as Copperas Gap. And apparently it got that name because the coast was used for the production of copperas. As to what the hell copperas is, I do not know, but I'm sure somebody listening will be able to answer that question. As for the name Portslade, it's believed that comes from the Old English portuslada, meaning way to the port. Again, whether that's true or whether I made that up, we'll be none the wiser. Boundary Road is really the main hub of Portslade. That's where I've been this morning. Lots of shops there. If you want a bargain, I tell you, get yourself to Boundary Road. I have never seen so many pound shops and charity shops all located in one street. Boundary Road is also where the station is located, and of course those dreaded level crossing gates. Who hasn't been stuck in traffic jams at those level crossing gates? Also, something I didn't know about Portslade was that it was actually the location of one of Britain's first cinemas back in 1930, when George Coles, who became one of the Odeon chain's principal architects, adapted the part-finished assembly hall here in Portslade into the first Odeon cinema. And it says here in my research notes that Portslade has been the home of some great people, the real greats. It says here, legend broadcaster Tommy Boyd could often be seen frequenting Boundary Road and the surrounding areas for many years. Is that true?
Was I sober?
I don't know about that.
Yeah, I did. I'll tell you what.
I'm now being chased by children, by the way, Tommy. Can you hear children in the background?
You are in
I'm
good
now
old
being
Portslade.
chased. I am in Portslade now. Yes, thank you. A lot of excitement here in Portslade at the sign of a radio car. Yes. Hi, boys. Right, I really am being chased now, Tommy.
Okay, for the first time in 10 years.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Yes.
shall I let you get on, or are you all right? Shall I come round and beat them up?
I'm okay, I'm fine.
You sure you don't want me to come round?
I'd like to say hello.
I will. I'll warn them. My mate Tommy Boyd's going to come and beat you up if you don't leave me alone.
Hey!
You got a fart in your hands.
I back you,
This is Portslade for you.
and you get Lloyd there, he can hold your coat.
Yeah, Lloyd look after me.
I'll fight them off.
All right. Okay, Alison, thank you very much indeed. You go and beat them up and get yourself a wind slot for the microphone, and we'll talk to you later. That's yeah, she's right about the level crossing in Portslade, because I've just been reminded, you see, my son, when he was 3 and he was in his pushchair, we used to have this song, and it used to go, the barrows go down and the bell goes ding, and the barrows go down and the bell goes ding, and the barrows go down and the bell goes ding, there's a train coming! And that was always at Portslade level crossing. And it is West Hove, because that's, my golf club was at West Hove. I was a member of West Hove Golf Club, and it was very posh, if you don't mind, if anybody wants to cast on Portslade. I remember I managed to get in because a member had been murdered by another member. That's true. So I got his card. That's West Hove for you. Let's have a quick word with Chris, who's called the show from Patcham on today's Monk's Snatch with Knobs on Place of the Day, Portslade. Hello, Chris.
Yes, hello there, how are you? Listening to
Yep.
the show, very good. Thoroughly enjoyed it.
It's okay, isn't it? We're getting there. Go on.
Yeah, getting it. I was just saying, if Alison's in, depending on which side of the road she's on, if one side of the road is Boundary Road, Hove,
Yeah.
and the other side is Station Road, Portslade, or it's the other way round, Station Road, Portslade, and Boundary Road, Hove.
Something like that.
Something like that.
It's complicated, isn't
Yes.
it? Yeah, but I like Portslade High Street.
Yeah, it's
It
lovely.
teams, and you can get anything there now. Is there still a Greengrocers? Because there was when I lived there.
I don't know, I haven't been there for ages, because you can never park in it, which is unfortunate.
There's nowhere to park. You've got to go all the way back to some of the streets, sort of up Boundaries Road.
And then they're all double yellow lines and resident
Are they
parking
now?
only.
No, that never... Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, that never used to be
You
the
can't
case.
even get around some of the side streets now.
No, I wouldn't be at all surprised. Okay, well, thanks for your call.
You're welcome.
Chris, whereabouts are you
Okay.
in Patcham? Because that's lovely too.
Yes, when's Alison going to come out here and keep us company?
Where are you? Who's us?
Patcham.
Yes, who's us? You mean
Oh,
the Patchamites?
The local residents of Patcham.
All, can you see the old Fawcett School from where you live?
Not from where I live, from where I used to live.
Yeah? You didn't go there?
No,
No, just one.
no, I'm from Mulscoon myself.
Beautiful neck of the woods.
And moved.
You've done well, haven't you? That's what they say about you. Cheers.
Okay, thank you.
That's young Chris in Patcham. What's Patcham famous? No, we won't do Patcham. We're still doing Port Slade. Well, I'll tell you what, then Port Slade really isn't making much of a fist of it if I'm the most famous person who's been seen wandering up and down the high street. No, I had happy times there, and a nice little playground. And of course you can hear the sea on a stormy night. And what? There used to be a cinema in Port Slade. I don't know what it is now.
The sound of Sussex. BBC Southern Counties Radio.
Email from Dan Smith. He says, just a quick fact about ageing sportsmen, because we're talking about whether or not you could box after your 50th birthday. He said, at the age of 72, during the summer Olympic Games in Antwerp, Sweden's running deer double shot event champion, Oscar Swan, won in the team event to become the oldest Olympic champion ever. This is at the age of 72. Apparently, everyone who visits the flight of steps in Philadelphia does that particular jubilant dance after ascending them. I once was tempted to go to the city just to do that, but then that would have been very sad in retrospect. I don't think so, Dan, and I wonder whether Sylvester Stallone is going to be in that trademark naff grey tracksuit, and whether he's going to do that run. I gather he does, and I gather there's not a dry eye in the house.
Je suis désolé. Lo siento. Ik ben droevig. Sono spiacente. Perdonami.
Madonna and Sorry at 7 minutes to 2. BBC Southern Counties Radio, the afternoon show with Tommy Boyd and Jenny Day, and Alison Ferns is being chased around Port Slade, literally, by the sound of it. Joan's called the show from Caterham. Good afternoon, Joan.
Oh, hello.
Hello.
I actually met Henry Cooper when I was working in Croydon. He was going to do a promotion on the Brute. Do you remember everyone said rub it all over or something like that?
Splash it all.
Flash it all over or something like that.
Yeah.
And I went with one of my other colleagues and we queued up in Woolworths because that's where literally you all had to queue then. It was all organised and we queued up and I said to her, I'm going to surprise him. She said, what do you mean? I said, wait and see. So when I got to our turn, I said, hello, Henry. So he said, hello, lovely voice, nice speaking man. And he said, I said, I'm going to show you something you have not seen for years. So he said, oh, you know that lovely voice he's got? He said,
yes.
Oh, really? What's that then? So I said, look at this. And he looked at a photograph, which was my husband in it and all his colleagues. They went to a boxing promotion and Henry Cooper was there, and he signed the photographs for them. And he looked at it, didn't see his signature, and he went, I know where that was, he said. That was North Thames Gas, wasn't it? I said, that's right. God. He said, well, I'm blowed. And do you know then, the rest of the afternoon with him there, he absolutely blossomed out. The fact that someone was saying something and something different, you know, not to say my great-granddad, whatever. And I've actually got a paperback on him that was published by Coronet. I don't know if they still do publish him. And his signature in here is in here twice.
Yeah.
I've actually got the photo. And his son, the fact that I do know all about him, or part of him, a little bit, I suppose. His son actually had a store in Caterham Valley in Croydon Road.
What was he selling?
So, but I hadn't. He was selling a mixture of things because he was the front part of the shop was by newspapers and things, and he had another kind of electrical business at the back, I believe.
Lovely.
But I never met him.
No.
But I always thought Henry Cooper was even better than the guy from America, because he was always very polite and lovely gentleman, and yet he was, you know, did these fights for his life practically, didn't he?
Well, he didn't get beaten up very much because
No.
he had brittle eyebrows and he used to bleed a lot.
Oh.
I think if he was boxing nowadays, they'd take him in and they would sort of file down his eyebrows. But he had very sharp bones at the eyebrow, and so if a boxer like Ali
Yeah.
would just have to pump him a couple of times above his eyes, then it would split and he would bleed, and they'd have to stop the fight. And that's why Henry really he escaped a real bruising. Although Joe Bugner gave him a hard time for 12 or 15 rounds. I can't remember.
Yes,
Do you remember
yes.
Joe Bugner?
The
Hungarian boy, the Hungarian British champion, Joe Bugner.
You know all about this, don't you?
I know all about too many things, Joan, but I'm
no,
grateful
you
for your
can't.
call.
You can't ever. You can be a walking encyclopedia.
Keep soaking it up. Be a human sponge. Joan, thank you very much indeed for your call. Nice story, well told. Quickly to Alan, a shop owner in Dorking, who wants to put out a little plea. Hello, Alan.
Hi, Tommy. My teeth are all gone on edge listening to that.
Which bit?
Oh, the bit about the blood and the eyebrows and all that.
Yeah.
Hi, Tommy. Yes, just to let you know that Dorking is in fact open. We have just started 12 weeks of roadworks at night down at Dorking High Street and South Street, and they obviously put road closure signs all around the town. However, they've left them up. So there are signs around Dorking that says Dorking's closed for the next 12 weeks, which is utter rot. And Highways or Carillion, who's doing the work, and Surrey County Council apparently are sorting it out. But at the moment, Dorking's quite quiet. And just to tell your listeners that we're here, we'll be here every day. We're very, very pleased to see them. A few changes of direction at night, but during the day we're here and we'd love to see you. And we've got 9 car parks, and come and see us.
And what are you trying to shift this afternoon then, and is it going to rot?
No, it's not going to rot. We've got the most wonderful stuff. We do a lot of, all our stuff is either homemade or local produce.
What is it?
We're at the moment, we're making some steak and kidney pies.
Oh, right.
And so out of, Ewhurst beef just down the road, and all homemade in our kitchens out the back here. So we just want some customers now to come and buy it, please.
Okay, well, it's a fair plea, I reckon. They've got to get those signs down, haven't they? Because you do need the business. All right, Alan, well, we'll pass that on. Nice one. So they are. Alan is a shop owner. He sells... Oh, quickly, you like carousel horses, somebody tells me.
Well, we do, yes. I think carousel's wonderful because it's so... You get so relaxed. You sit there and we need to relax these days. You could put one in the middle of Dorking High Street at the moment.
Yes, you could use a bit of...
relaxation.
Yeah, a bit of de-stress.
Good New Year to you, Tommy.
All right, cheers, mate.
Take care, bye.
Okay, 08459 570057. So Dorking is open, but they've left up some signs to say that it's closed because they're working on the roads of Dorking for 12 weeks, and that's going to be going through the night. What is that like if you live in one of those... Can people live in flats above shops? If you look at most modern shops, you look at a modern shop, okay, and you've got a nice big, great modern... shop window, and then you look above it and you can usually see one story, which is probably where they store the stock, and then there's usually another story above it. And I've always thought to myself, it must be nice to live there. You can have a flat there, or could you? Because I've never met anybody who did live up above a shop like that. And obviously you wouldn't want to in Dorking at the moment if they're drilling the road, and those HGVs and JCBs are going up and down, up and down, up and down. But Alan's message, Dorking is open, and Monk's place of the day is Portslade. If you have views or a story on that. Beast of the day is the carousel horse. Do you still get them if you go to the fair? Can you still go on one of those old-fashioned merry-go-rounds? And stand by from 3, it's the J Hour.
Crowborough, Arundel, Newhaven, Rye, the sound of Sussex. BBC Southern Counties Radio.
Westerly breeze, 11 centigrade, 52 Fahrenheit. And for Thursday to Saturday, rain clearing to sunny spells and occasional showers on Thursday. Further rain at times on Friday and Saturday, and windy too at times.
The sound of Sussex. BBC Southern Counties Radio.
Our beast of the day is an unusual one. It's the carousel horse. You know, those over-elaborate, slightly girlish white ponies with the candy stick pole going through them, and you sit on them and go round and round, and you just don't feel at all that there's anything perilous about it. You're completely out of control. I think it's the biggest waste of sixpence there used to be at the fairground, but it turns out that girlies love them. So, you know, vive la différence. For us boys, of course, the Dodgems is the only ride at the fairground. I would have spent my whole 10 bob, wouldn't you, sir, if I could, at the fairground, on the Dodgems, eking it out. I envied, didn't you envy those rakish young men with usually black curly hair and a shirt kind of undone 4 buttons and pulled up at the sleeves, who used to just run around, never get run over, run around the old Dodgems rink and jump on the back of your Dodgem and take your tenner or your tanner or your bob or whatever it was, or your 2 bob off you. So we're talking a little bit not just about the carousel horse, which is a fairly namby-pamby ride at the... In fact, the only nambia-pambia ride at the fairground was the teacup and saucer, which was absolutely for 3-year-olds and very tired parents. The Hall of Mirrors... once you've seen yourself, well, we've all got cheap mirrors at home, so you don't really need a hall of mirrors any longer. I think there's one on Brighton's Pier still. The Ghost Ride, a little bit disappointing, but something good to look forward to. Candy Floss, for me, over toffee apples. Never ever bother with the hoopla or any of those shooting games unless you want to know what it feels like to have some kind of a gun that works in your hand. Do you still get fairgrounds? I haven't been for ages. I had one go once, the last time I went, to the the Slow Fair at Chichester. There was a machine which was a bit like a drum, a big drum, and you would go inside it, stand with your back to the wall, and it would start to rotate. And then when it got up to about 30 or 40 miles an hour, the floor would drop away, and you would be adhered to the wall of this ludicrous waste of 10 bob. Because my headache lasted for 3 weeks.
You don't have to be beautiful.
True.
To turn me on. I just need your body, baby. From dusk till dawn. You don't need experience to turn me out. You just leave it all up to me. I'll show you what it's all about. You don't have to be rich to be my girl. You don't have to be cool to rule my world. Ain't no particular sign I'm more compatible with. I just want your extra time and your kiss. You gotta not talk dirty, baby, if you wanna impress me. You can't be too flirty, mama. I know how to undress me. Let me be your fantasy, and maybe you could be mine. You just leave it all up to me. We can have a good time. You don't have to be rich to be my girl. You don't have to be cool to rule my world. Ain't no particular sign I'm more compatible with. I just want your extra time and your kiss.
Kiss, Tom Jones and the Art of Noise. Funny, when you go to the fairground, there's almost always one of the rides is playing It's Not Unusual. We're talking about the beast of the day, which is the carousel horse on the afternoon show this afternoon. Good afternoon to you. Miserable out there, isn't it? Our Monk Snatch with Knobs On place is Portslade, and Alison Ferns is being run ragged there by some youngsters, and we'll be reporting again, with any luck, from Accident and Emergence. No, I made that bit up. Of course not. She's fine. Boxing we're talking. Can the over 50s? Could an over 50 box? That's the theme of Rocky Balboa, the movie that's out shortly. We were talking to Sir Henry Cooper about that. That was fun. A little bit earlier on the programme. Wait, listeners, just ask yourself this question. What have you eaten over the last 24 hours? You will notice, if you make a mental note of everything, that there were a couple of handfuls of something or other that you didn't really need, and that could just make all the difference if you cut that out over the next 24 hours and see whether you can come down half a pound. Wait, listeners, on BBC Southern Counties Radio for the new year. I've got a chinwag in about 10 minutes' time, which I'm looking forward to enormously, and a strange thing between 3 and 4. We'll keep everything else going until the end of the show, but a strange thing from 3 and 4 until 4, which is the J Hour. 08459570057. On boxing, hi Tom, I am a pacifist. This is a text from Sue. I'm a pacifist, but I think boxing has served a great purpose in teaching discipline to some aggressive young men. And Dave in Findon Village says, boxing is a wonderful sport. Recent caller is off the wall. And this one from Anne in Lancing. Tommy, as a child, my family were avid fans of boxing, and my godfather was a pro boxer. As a result of this, I named my pet mouse Rocky, after Rocky Marciano. That's Anne in Lancing. Oh, text us back, Anne, and tell us who your godfather was. You never know. I might have wasted money on him. Lee is in New Haven, and he texts, saw a Pompey match recently. A player's 2 front teeth smashed out during a foul. I think it was 4. Funnily enough, most barbaric sporting incident I've seen. Yeah, did you see that? I think it was the Saturday before last. I forget who the player was, but he lost 4 teeth in a tackle. One of them, they went out onto the pitch at half-time and they found 3 of his teeth. The one of his teeth that he'd managed to find himself when he fell over, he'd taken it back to the dressing room and they'd lost it. But I wondered why they went looking for his teeth. Can you put them back? Surely not. Let's have traffic. Quick traffic flash for you. Thanks for this. There's been an accident at the traffic lights on Stanwell Moor Road near Staines, and traffic towards Staines has been diverted. Now, which one's that? Is that the one from the old Bulldog up towards the Crooked Billet roundabout there? I think it probably is. Big dual carriageway, very, very busy road. I've got a brother who lives on that. So, sadly to report, an accident at the traffic lights on Stanwell Moor Road near Staines. Traffic towards Staines has been diverted. Dave calls from Headley Down on the subject of boxing. Dave.
Hi.
Dave.
Our Henry, he used to have a fruit and veg market stall in Wembley.
I think you're right.
I can remember as a young lad we used to go and buy it just to be able to gaze at him.
Yeah, well, isn't he just the all-British hero?
That's right. Absolutely superb man.
Mr. England.
Yeah, Henry's hammer.
If you had to pick a bloke to represent the best of English manhood over the last 100 years, Henry Cooper would be on the shortlist, I'm certain of it.
Absolute gentleman.
Total gentleman.
A fantastic sportsman.
Married a little Italian lady who was about a third of his size, and, you know, smashing family they had too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely wonderful.
Yeah. Ever boxed?
As a 12-year-old and early teens, yes, great discipline.
Yeah. In a helmet or bareheaded?
Oh no, it was all bareheaded then. You didn't put in helmets, but it was all very controlled and it was all very well done.
Did you ever get knocked over?
No, not really, because it was amateur stuff and you were taught to box properly.
3 minutes, 3 rounds.
Yeah, 1 minute in between and so on. And very good.
The points were any time you landed a glove back then, weren't they?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, lovely.
All good stuff.
All good stuff. Thank you for your call, Dave. Nice to talk to you. Thanks for the memory. Sir Henry Cooper, who we talked about earlier, or talked with earlier, I should say, now talking about Sir Henry Cooper. There's absolutely nothing wrong. It's good for the spirit to say that somebody else is fantastic. And since I've got you and you're listening, driving along or at home, you're fantastic, and I hope you say that to yourself from time to time, because not many of us treat ourselves with the esteem that we should. Oh, he's getting philosophical, Tom. It must be the second week in January. Robert Harris of Harris Brothers Fun Fairs is on the line. We've been talking a bit about the carousel horse, Robert, because it's our beast of the day. Do you own a carousel horse roundabout?
Yes, we do. The family's got one that my grandfather purchased in the 1920s. Which has been in the family ever since and has appeared at almost every show in and around Sussex, apart from the break in the Second World War, every weekend through the summer.
Oh, blimey, were there no fun fairs during the war? I would have thought we needed them.
Well, there were a few, and they were licensed by the Ministry of Defence. or the War Department.
Ministry of War Department licensed fun fairs.
They did, yeah.
I wonder if they were any different from one that didn't need a War Department licence.
Well, it was a licence to operate because you had to have a special area blacked out or be undercover because of the likelihood of being bombed by German bombers.
Because you could spot a fun fair from 25,000 feet, couldn't you?
Yeah, with the lights, and it would have looked like a Canadian or American war camp, getting ready for D-Day. Because being in the Sussex countryside here, we were in and amongst the Canadian and American troops all doing their thing for the 6th of June 1944 for D-Day. So it was very relevant to make sure that you weren't picked out as a target. An assembly or a group of people and equipment would have looked pretty much like, from 20,000 feet, would have looked like a concentration of troops or soldiers training, of which there were thousands in this area. So we weren't licensed to operate. The Benson family at Dorking were, and they operated in Horsham in the Carfax, and they were under blackout supervision. You couldn't see the fair from the air, and they entertained the Canadian and American troops throughout the war. However, we were licensed to haul timber for the Ministry of Supply, or the War Ag as it was called. So we still did our bit to war effort.
So what would have been carrying merry-go-rounds was carrying timber for the war?
That's right, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where does your carousel, where does it winter?
It winters at Ashington, the Orchard Ashington, which has been the family home since 21st of January 1902.
Can I just say something? Your family obviously deal in one of the most important ways of storing historical information, which is you obviously keep your own records and talk to each other about what used to happen.
Yes, well, it wasn't so much what was written down, it was what was said.
Yeah.
And very often if you speak to someone within our business and within the family, they'll say it was said, or they said. Just reminding all of us that almost everyone couldn't read or write in general, generally speaking, 150 years ago or so. So it wasn't possible to record these things. So the family history was oral, and it was passed down through the generations. And when I did actually speak on one occasion to a showman at Chichester, a member of the Coles family, one of the oldest members of the family, Bill Cole, he said to me, he said, do you realise that your great-great-grandfather, Jack Harris, was one of the first owners and operators of steam roundabouts in Sussex? I said, no, I didn't know that. I said, well, I've no records of that. He said, no, it was said.
It was said.
And
how far back can you go then?
Well, we traced, I haven't looked extremely hard, but I've traced back through the Mormon church records, which kept these records throughout England, to see who was of the faith or not. So they kept records incidentally for one reason, and they became incidental for another. That's to say, they recorded the whereabouts of most families at one time or another. So that's a good way to find out who your relatives are, or where your ancestry lies in England or Ireland or so on.
So do you know when your lot got into fairs?
Well, approximately, great-great-grandfather was born in 1833, and certainly by the 1860s, the Victorian Fairground as we now know it was actually just starting to emerge. That's to say that with the invention of cast iron and wrought iron and steam engines and so on, and all the technology that needs to go with that, it was possible to make these very special, attractive old carousels and merry-go-rounds. In England, they're known as merry-go-rounds, and in America and in Europe, they're known as carousels.
Yeah.
The reason why the two names differ is one comes from a lot further back in history. The word carousel comes from the medieval period of the Middle East, where the knights in that area would practice their skills on horseback of charging with a lance or a sword. And when the Spanish and Italian knights saw this, they inquired as to what they were doing and what was this game called on horseback. They said, well, we're practicing war, or it was described as a little war. So, and of course the word was garacella or carosella in Italian, Old Italian or Spanish. So that crept into the European English language and French and Spanish language and Italian. When it came back with the Knights, brought these ideas and words back with them. So, and of course they were keen to train their young men to be good on horseback. And of course it was later known in Tudor times as sort of jousting and that sort of thing. So all these names sort of conjured up practicing some sort of skill on horseback and perfecting the art of war. But the French wanted to build a small contraption which was called a carousel, or practicing for war, and put their young children on there. And they too had a small lance, and they were encouraged to try and spear the ring. It was called spearing the ring. And
now you see, if you had that on a carousel nowadays, that would really cook for me.
Oh yes, well I mean in France, in Europe, and certain parts of America, they still do that.
Fantastic.
Yeah, but that's how old the origins of roundabouts and merry-go-rounds are. But they didn't mechanise and mechanically make them as good as they are today until Victorian times, when the Victorian engineering qualities and knowledge allowed such things to be developed alongside the invention of the lovely steam engine. So, so that's how we've progressed. But
and I'll tell you what, you talk about progress. My boys, when they were sort of PlayStation age, they had a certain excitement with all the electronic gamery and, you know, modern music and everything. But there was never a bigger buzz, apart from at Christmas, there was never a bigger buzz in the house than when we knew that the fair was coming to the Green in Chichester. So you keep up the good work. Let's hope you're here for another 1,000 years. I wouldn't be at all surprised.
Lovely. I mean, every day throughout the summer, there's always something going on, and most of the original fair dates were religious occasions. So they were celebrated and set up by the churches and the monasteries, but they were there to serve the populace with making a trading day within the calendar once a month. And you can still see that old pattern where Wisborough Green Fair is on the 20th of September. And
well, I know what I meant to ask you as well, just quickly. There was a film called Oh, What a Lovely War.
Yeah.
There was a famous carousel scene, which I think they filmed at Devil's Dyke.
Indeed, yeah.
Right, you don't know whose merry-go-round that was?
Yes, I do. It was a guy from
It's all right, doesn't matter. It's not
a blank.
But there's not a holiday riding on it.
Frank Pelham's.
Frank Pelham's, well done.
Yeah, and that we actually could see with a pair of binoculars this very ghostly roundabout, which was painted all white with whitewash for that film, and it was set right on the top of the Devil's Dyke.
Yeah, it was. It was a wonderful film, and thank you, Robert Harris, very much indeed for your time, and what love and what a great memory, and obviously what a tight family who keep their records between their ears, and don't they do it well? 08459 570057. Let's rush to Portslade, which is our Monk Snatch with Nobs on Place of the Day. And Alison Ferns, I don't know whether she's managed to scare off the lads who were trying to kick her in the shins. I think you've got a friendly soul with you there.
Yeah, I can look after myself, Tommy. I'm in Portslade. I mentioned to you earlier those famous level crossing gates where we've all been stuck on numerous occasions. I'm in Portslade just by the train station. It's pouring down with rain, and yet I have managed to find somebody who'll stop and talk to me, and he's a councillor, no less. Only the best for this show, Tommy. Councillor Bob Carden is with me. Now, really, what you don't know about Portslade isn't worth knowing. You've lived here all your life, haven't you?
Yeah, that's true. I've lived here all my life, but I don't know everything. I didn't know about that cinema that you were talking to me about.
You see, Monk Snatch can teach people things even though they think they know it all. How many years then have you been here?
69 on the 22nd of April this year.
Wow, so you've seen some changes over that time?
Just a few, Alison, just a few, yeah.
Now, where we are at the moment is at the top of Boundary Road. You were telling me that you used to live down the southern part of Portslade. That's changed drastically, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think that was Portslade. There was very little north of the Old Shoreham Road, just a few roads up in the village and around. But the heart of Portslade was North Street, Ellen Street, East Street, West Street, Camden Street, where people really worked, that worked on the harbour at the gasworks and the two power stations that were there around the water.
You were telling me what your house used to be like down there.
Yeah, it was it was no front garden. It was just a small terraced house. sort of front room, sort of a lounge with a sort of kitchenette thing on the back, where we had an old boiler where we used to boil all the water to bring it into the kitchen when we had a bath on a Friday night, the old tin bath, you know. And behind it was a stables where they used to keep the horses to move the coke when they were making the gas at the gasworks, just over the harbour there.
And now where do you live?
I live in, almost as far north in Portslade as you can go. Oakling Crescent, which is backed right onto Southwick Hill. We go out of my back garden into another county. So, you know, it's very nice up there. It's a completely different aspect.
So did you meet Mrs. Carden then in Portslade?
No, I met Mrs. Carden in Shoreham.
Okay.
In a pub called the Swiss Cottage.
I know it well.
Yeah, that's where I met Mrs. Carden.
How long have you been married?
43 years. Yeah.
And you're a lovely husband, aren't you? Because you were telling me earlier that you do all the cooking. You did a nice casserole for her today.
Yeah, I like to cook for her during the week, not always at the weekend. As I'm retired now, but my wife isn't. She works for Age Concern, looks after a few elderly people during the morning, makes them comfortable, tidies up for them, etc. And she comes in absolutely ravenous about 12:30. And there's usually a nice cooked lunch for you.
Very nice, dinner on the table. So you had to lure her over to Portslade then, did you, when you met?
I don't think it took much luring. I mean, she had a house similar to what we'd had in the old port when I was in South Portslade, and where I was then living in Valley Road. We had a bathroom, and she used to come over Friday night for a bath.
Now, you were telling me earlier as well that there used to be a zoo up at Devil's Dyke, something Tommy's been talking about this afternoon, about the carousel and the visiting fair. I never knew there was a zoo there.
Yeah, I don't think it was much of a zoo, but it was behind where the Devil's Dyke Hotel is now, on the bank at the back there. A few animals there. I think it came from with Dean Stadium. I think it was there for a while, and then it moved up to the Devil's Dyke. But I don't think it was all that long. But I seem to remember going up there and seeing it. Yeah.
So Portslade then's obviously changed a hell of a lot over the years. Is there anything that would ever tempt you away from Portslade, do you think?
About 5 million on the lottery, yeah. I think I might. Yeah, no, I don't really want to leave it. It's got everything I want. It's quiet. It's fairly... behaviour of most people is fairly good out there. You know, we don't get a lot of problems. You get the odd bit from time to time, but it's not a bad place to live. I think most people that sort of have lived there all their life don't want to go anywhere else. And as I say, that applies to me, really.
And did you get married in Portslade?
No, I got married in Brighton Registry Office, the old Brighton Registry Office at the bottom of St James's Street. That's where it was a few years ago. That's where we got married, and we had our honeymoon at Butlins at Saltdean, where we had 3 or 4 days, which was all we could afford. So
Did you? I used to be a redcoat at Butlins at Saltdean.
So our paths nearly crossed. But I think the reason was we just put the deposit down on our first house, which was a pricely £2,450 in Heathfield Drive. And I had to find £200 deposit and £13, 10 shillings a month mortgage, which was 1 week's wages. So, you know.
How things have changed. Well, thank you so much for telling us all about your life in Portslade. Tommy, back to you.
I embarrassed myself once in the NatWest in Boundary Road in Portslade.
Oh, dear.
Because I had an account there, and we got a letter one day from the bank manager saying that they were holding a lunch for customers. So I envisaged that there'd be about 1,000 of us. And I said yes, but my mate, a bloke called Rory, also had an account at the same branch.
Yeah.
So I phoned them up and said I'd go as long as I could sit next to my friend Rory. See?
How old were you?
I was 29. Anyway, no, the thing is, when I got there were only 6 of us in the room. I thought there'd be thousands of people under a marquee with loads of tables, you know, and a cabaret.
They must have thought you were a peculiar
very
fish, didn't they?
strange customer. Silly story. Say hello to your mate. He sounds a nice man.
I will do. Alison
Ferns is, as they say in broadcasting, out and about. She's not really about very much. She's staying in Portslade, because Portslade, down on the coast, some people think is the poorer cousin of Hove, but having lived right on the edge of Portslade Hove myself, I would say that if it went 15 rounds, it would probably be a split decision. Monk Snatch with knobs on. That's what we call it when we send a reporter to a place in Sussex, Surrey or North East Hampshire. We're also talking about boxing. Beast of the day, the Carousel Horse. We've got the J Hour, very unusual hour, up our sleeves from 3 o'clock. But after travel and weather, which is next, we're going to have a chinwag with a man, and all we know about him at the moment is that his name is Tony. I wonder if he's tea or coffee.
BBC Southern Counties Radio Travel.
Still southbound on the M3, 1 lane's closed between 5 and 6. That's Hook to Basingstoke, and northbound 2 lanes are closed 6 to 5. That's the same thing, obviously, the A30 up to the A287 after a lorry came from the southbound carriageway through the central reservation. A3 southbound now, cars lost a wheel just between Horndean and Waterlooville. That's junction 2 and 3. Cars lost a wheel by the looks of things, says Glyn, and gone into the bank. Line Lane at Lyne looks as though it's pretty much blocked by a fallen tree, rather a large tree by the looks of things. And the A217 exit slip to the anti-clockwise M25 remains closed because of a gas leak. You can update us on 08459 570057. I'm Chris Lambert, BBC Southern Counties Radio Travel.
Gloomy and drizzly for what's left of today. Sun goes down at 13 minutes past 4, 13 degrees 55. Tonight, a generally cloudy night with further rain at times for all, perhaps heavy in places, 9 centigrade 48. Wednesday, rain clearing through the morning, then mostly dry with sunny periods for the rest of the day, 11 centigrade. Thursday to Saturday, rain clearing to sunny spells on Thursday, further rain at times on Friday and Saturday, and very windy.
Rewind with Alison Ferns.
This Saturday lunchtime, we'll rewind back to the early 80s. There was change at the top for Labour.
Well, good evening again from Brighton, where Mr Neil Kinnock has been elected the leader of the Labour Party.
And a change in our driving laws.
Millions of drivers will have to change their habits or risk prosecution.
Hear all the music, news, fads and fashions as our journey back in time continues.
Rewind with Alison Ferns.
But can you fathom the year? I'll reveal all this Saturday lunchtime at 1 on BBC Southern Counties Radio.
It doesn't matter who gets to lead the Labour Party and his deputy, they call him a dream ticket. I remember when Neil Kinnock won it, and him and Roy Hattersley were hailed as a dream ticket. And so Tony and Gordon's going to need a number 2, and what will they call them when that's decided? They will call it the dream ticket. Chinwag after this one from Lamar.
You call me up in tears again. I come over, your only friend. Put my arms around you to stop this lonely night. You ask me to stay, I don't think it's right. When you tell me you're in love with him, don't you know that really caves me in? And I'm not that strong. Cause if I let you tell you how much I love you, I just wanna love you, baby. I just wanna hold you, girl. Yeah, I can hold you the way that I want and I want to. Cause no one can love you like I do.
Lovely song from Lamar. Someone should tell you.
Love you
Go on, you finish, boy.
like I do.
I wouldn't know him if he stood next to me at the bar, but he sounds like a big lad, so I shouldn't really start talking till he's finished singing. It's nearly 20 to 3, and it's time to say good afternoon to someone we're going to have a chinwag with, who I know only as Tony. Hello, Tony.
Oh, good afternoon. Nice to be here.
Good, good. We're looking after you, all right? Have you got a cup of something?
Oh, I have, actually. Yes, it is. I could have had a choice of a number of things. I plumb for water, isn't it? I think it's...
very healthy.
New Year's resolution or something? I don't know, really.
Did you have enough to drink and eat over Christmas?
You know, I did. I'm still drying out a bit, actually.
Yeah,
and,
me too. Yeah.
But it's nice. I think it's
slow
nice
detox.
A slow detox, that's true.
How many days did you get off over Christmas?
Oh, well, my line of business actually dictates that I don't get much time off at all, actually. So I'm going to try and get a bit of a break now, but it's nice. just so, isn't it? I just love it now, and thankfully, was it the 9th of January? I've still held on to my New Year's resolution, so I think it must be an all-time record.
That's good. What is it then?
You know, my brother actually got me at Christmas actually a cross trainer, one of these terrible things which you dread to buy yourselves, but you love to be given possibly. And you know, I've really worked on this. And a cross trainer is like one of these. A cross trainer. It's a bit like a treadmill with arm movements as well.
Okay. You do look fit.
Oh right. Well, I'm feeling fitter. I'm much better than before Christmas, I think now. So.
Well, have you just sort of pumped up, or have you lost a few pounds?
No, I have actually. I mean, these things actually, you see them advertised, and you're never quite sure where they're going to work actually. But I tried. I thought, well, I've been given it, and I'm going to give it a go. Otherwise, it's going to go on eBay or something. Yeah. And it works, Tommy.
Yeah.
It does, and it surprises me. So.
So you're getting fit for a purpose, as the phrase now is, a very popular phrase, fit for purpose. Are you getting fit for a purpose, or do you just?
No, I think I just have to justify why I've got this cross trainer, to be honest.
What did you get him?
No, I bought him nothing like that, really. He's a drummer, actually, so I bought him actually some drum bags, actually, to hold his cymbals and bits and pieces.
Oh, that's a nice one. Who does he drum for?
Well, he follows a band, actually, a lookalike band for the Shadows, of all people. He's got lookalike Cliff Richard as a lead singer, and he's a drummer there, so...
So who was the drummer in the Shadows? It was Tony Meehan to begin with, before
That's
your
right.
time. Oh, no, do you remember?
Yes, I do, yes.
Because Jet Harris and Tony Meehan set themselves up on their own,
Yes,
didn't they? And
that's
had a big
right.
hit with,
Yes.
come on,
Ooh.
Diamonds?
That's right, that is one of the early ones. That's right. Yes, it was, wasn't it?
And your bro, then, was he drumming away when he was a kid? Did he keep you awake?
Gosh, he was. Everywhere the family went, actually, he had, you know, from early days, actually, he had the biscuit tins, and he had, and now latter days, actually, when I used to take a holiday with him, you know, to Greece anywhere, to always take this practice pad, which is like a rubber pad you can put on anywhere, and, you know, whereas I wanted to hop out to the beaches or something, he would always want to do his 15 minutes of drumming, so, yeah. And, but he's good though, he's a good drummer, he does all the drumming, so,
Who did he want to emulate? Did you buy records, the pair of you, and squabble about who was the best band?
Yes, he likes you know, all the usual ones, your Genesis and stuff from the earlier days of things, right through to the modern stuff. What he likes to do is actually really hear, because he teaches drums now to youngsters right from sort of 5 or 6 year olds right up to you know, 17, 18 year olds now. So he has to know the music, you know, the modern music and so on. But he likes some of the old people actually, Tommy, like Buddy Rich and so on. You know, some of the old drummers and so on actually, which he thinks actually are the best ever, you know, like... And
he's a connoisseur of drumming, isn't he?
Pretty well, yes, he is.
Just as wine buffs could probably run it round their tongue and tell you that it's a 1927 from the south side of the slopes. I bet he could listen to a little bit of drumming.
That's right,
and
tell
say,
you the style.
I'll tell you who that is,
That's right.
Yeah.
But it does all these fancy things with the sticks, actually, like the paradiddles and so on, actually, which I thought is a movement in ice skating. But
so dubious, doesn't it?
But it is a movement with some drumsticks, which is very, very good, so... I don't think I could be ever that good in music somehow.
Has he made a living out of it at any point?
Not actually as a band member. I mean, he just loves it. He's just been teaching it all his life now, so he teaches...
Where's he based?
He's based in Wimbledon, so just South London there, and but he goes to a number of schools. He's only schools, though. It does tend to be all the schools now he deals with, and, you know, he plays in a couple of bands, but predominantly this Shadows lookalike band.
Right.
And so he's keen, and he does all the jazz drumming and stuff, so...
and he loves you enough to buy you a cross trainer.
I know, can you believe it?
It's a strange old present.
Yeah, it is.
You do sound very close.
Yes.
How many of you are there?
Got an older sister and younger brother, that's the drummer. What he probably doesn't realise, though, Tom, is I'm going to give him this cross trainer back for next Christmas.
Yes, I mean, yes.
It'll be passed back over the years now, you watch.
It'll go back and forward, zigzag, won't it?
But it won't be a bad thing.
Okay, you mentioned your line. What are you in?
I'm in brewing, Tommy, so, never used to be. I used to be, I've done first 20 years of my career, actually, I started to be a land surveyor, and I used to do a lot of work in London Docklands, quite involved, actually, with the big Canary Wharf Tower there, and all the nice buildings up there, that's, the finance houses now. And then, well, certainly for the last 20 years, I've been in brewing, so my line of business is the old Hogsback Brewery. So I'm a beer man, really.
What do you mean, your line of business? That's not your brewery.
Oh, it's my brewery.
Is it really?
That's
well, put it there.
Oh, well,
that's a decent drop.
A good man here. That's right.
That is a decent drop. I keep coming back to beer. You know, lager has its delights, But do you know, it's only the other day I think I bought myself a bottle in the supermarket. I can't remember which one
Yes.
it was, I'm
Yes.
afraid.
Well, lager's nice, though. I mean, you won't get me to say too much. I mean, you know, on a hot day, you've had a game of golf, or, you know, you've come out from here or something. You need something cold and refreshing. I think it's lovely, actually. I haven't got a problem with that. You know,
Where it's changed is it used to be trendy to drink lager.
Yes, it did.
And I think it's becoming trendy again to drink beer and cider.
Yes. Yes, both much. That's right. You know, we have a brewery shop here, so we can monitor actually what tends to be trendy to certain drinks. Ciders have come through, and even things like Perry, really, somehow, which is equivalent, you know, with obviously with pears and so on. It always goes through sort of trends and so on, actually. It's, I think beer has made a comeback, but, you know, lager's always going to be nice and strong, and, you know, I think there's room for us all, really, to be honest, Tom.
Where did you go to school? There's a reason why I asked.
I went to school in Wimbledon.
Okay.
And I... along the Ridgeway there, and
which school was that?
That was called Wimbledon College.
Oh yeah, that's quite a good name, isn't it?
Yes,
yeah.
That's where Paul Merton came from. I think he was a year or two younger than me.
You're right.
That's,
You're right. I
the
think
old
he
rogue.
was. Yes.
And
yes.
I remember seeing him a few times, but I think my recollection there was he was quite funny in those days. So.
Well, his name was Morton then, wasn't
That's right,
He
it was.
had to change it. I don't know if he says he had to change it because there was somebody else in Equity called Paul Morton, but I often think...
know that.
I don't think that's the reason. A lot of comedians benefit from a slight name change.
Yes.
Who's that other one? Frank Skinner.
Frank Skinner,
I think his real name's Chris Collins, isn't it?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Oh, you know these things, do you?
Yes, kind
Do
of.
you want to come and sit here?
No, I don't. I mean, no, I don't actually. No.
Good for you.
No.
And did you all go to the lads? Is it a boys' school?
It is, yes. I think actually, and I've lost track of it a bit now. It might well be a mixed school now, but it certainly wasn't just a boys' school. It was a grammar school when I first went there too.
Right.
So it's all.
So did you have to take an 11 plus?
I did.
Yeah. Do you remember taking it? Do you remember? You know, and did you know that it was the?
I certainly did know it was 11 plus, but I didn't know the importance actually, because I think in those days, I mean, God, I don't think it would ever be allowed to happen nowadays. You were quite discriminated against actually, because if suddenly you performed well on that day, then suddenly you were pushed into this thing called a grammar school, and then if suddenly you weren't that good, you went to this this other school, like a secondary modern school, they called it or something, and I think that was terrible in retrospect, though. Yeah. Really. I honestly didn't know how important it was. I look back now and I think it was really important, you know, because how fortunate I was, really, because, you know, the school I went to, they had, like, Jesuit priests inside. It was really quite strict, actually. But you learnt all things like Latin and things, and you always had a nice swimming pool in the school where perhaps a secondary modern wouldn't have had. So I feel because of that one exam, it kind of changed my whole education, I suppose. Yeah.
We're talking to Tony, who it turns out is Mr. Hogg's Back Brewery, and plenty of other things as well. It's just gone 2:45. It wasn't supposed to be a phone-in, but I'm always glad if people want to join in. And John's called from Worthing, who wants to have a word with Tony. Hello, John. You're through to Tony.
Hello, Tony.
Hello,
John. I hear you've got a custom motorbike.
Yes, now the cat's out the bag here a bit. Yes, that's right. We commissioned it about 6 or 8 months ago, and we've got to take delivery, John, actually probably next month, next February. So it is actually a bike and sidecar, where the sidecar has 3 wooden barrels, so it's almost like one of our extra delivery vehicles ready. It's all very smart and chrome, and got a big engine on it, so it's got 1.4 litre engine. So where did you hear about this, John?
I think it's in one of the bike magazines. It's a Harley, isn't it, or something?
That's right, the engine is, that's right, but it's been custom built by somebody down near Bournemouth, and so
an award winner, isn't it?
Yes, that's right. We put it in for a competition in the middle of last year. We still haven't taken receipt because everybody wants to keep taking it to have it at exhibitions, so we haven't even got it here in Surrey yet. So,
good advertising.
Yeah, that's right. We're going to have a bit of fun with that, so we can see us burning up and down the Hogs Back on that a few times, and the A3, I think.
Okay, thank you.
Cheers,
Good.
John. Yes, that's what the A3's there for, isn't it? At 5 o'clock in the morning, doing a lawful 70 miles an hour.
That's right. I didn't realise actually many people knew about that motorbike. Actually, it's a super machine.
It's becoming a real global village. You know, I don't think anybody can move. Apparently, we're on CCTV 80% of our time when we're outside of the house.
Yes, I can believe that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which I don't think so. What are your thoughts?
I'm fine about that. I'm quite fine about these ID cards, to be honest, too, actually. You know, I think most citizens, you know, if you've got nothing to hide, touch, then it's got to be good. I think most of us have got IDs anyway. Look at the passports and driving licence and so on, so we've pretty well got it anyway.
Well, a number of times you go down to the post office to collect a package that they couldn't deliver, and they want, you know, your passport or something. If you've got a little ID card, then you're home.
ID card, that's right.
Or they want to see your gas bill.
Yes.
Don't they?
Yes, they do, don't they? That is crazy, isn't it, really?
A gas bill to get your own property. I didn't realise this because I never know who's coming in for a chinwag or what they're about, but Jenny, who's producing the programme, has just put a note on my screen to tell me that you've actually brought some of your stuff in with you.
You know, I have, actually. I wanted to keep this fairly,
sober?
To surprise you, actually.
Don't worry about going off mic, and Jenny arrives.
So, yes, I think once my disguise has been found, actually, I don't think you'd let me out of the studio without sort of having something here anyway, so, I've remembered to bring a bottle opener with me this time.
Well, there was see, my old trick at student parties used to be, if there was beer with one of these proper tops on it, and there'd usually be a crate of them sitting in the kitchen.
Yep.
What I would do is, before anybody else arrived, if I was first in there, I'd go and, using the opener, I'd loosen the top.
That sounds good.
Of one of the bottles so that it was ready to come off. And then about an hour later, when the kitchen was full of young women who might easily be impressed, I would stride in, pick up a bottle from the
that sounds
case, and then open it with my teeth.
Have a first move, that's cool.
You've got to make sure you get the right bottle.
The right bottle, that's right.
And what are we about to taste? It looks and smells.
It is. It's a nice hoppy nose on this one, actually, Tommy. It's our best bitter. We call this tea traditional English ale, and it's I think it's a nice strength for this time of afternoon, really. Just after lunch and before the heavy ones arrive, or something in the evening for your barley wines.
Let me have a taste here. Oh, rugby matches. And men shouting at prop forwards in barber jackets.
Right, it is, isn't it, Ray? It's all of that, really.
And
shouts
fireworks.
Out the glass,
fireworks. I can see fireworks going off. Mm.
You know, it's
a hog roast at Fontwell, and you need the winner in the 4:45.
That's right.
Yeah,
Suddenly you've got it. So you want another bottle, don't you? Or that or champagne or something. It depends how big the win was.
And a plate of Welks.
And a plate of Welks.
And a plate of Welks.
Oh, that does taste good. Now, it's even me saying that, isn't it? I don't get a chance to drink on air. This is nice, isn't it?
It's got some activity. There are a few bubbles in there.
That's right. Yes, it is. It's something that it's nice. You know, there's always nice balance between the malt and the hops, and a nice golden colour beer here, and it's nice bit of life about it. It's got a nice head on it, which I always think. Nice bit of creamy head.
We're drinking it out of a glass. If you can picture this, if you're at home or driving along, I am sorry. This is so indulgent, but luckily I am on the train home this afternoon. It's a nice brown bottle of Hogsback Brewery TEA. This one's called. Is that right?
It is, that's right. We call it
Traditional English Ale.
Traditional English Ale, that's right. We always like to give all our beers a beer name besides just being a beer type, so it's a bit of fun to still remember it, I think, really.
How close is your operation to the Hogsback?
We're right on the Hogsback, actually, you know.
It's a good name to have, isn't it?
It's a great name, isn't it? You know, we actually set the business up, actually, way back in the early 90s, and, you know, we was wondering what to call it, whether to call it the Guildford Brewery or the Farnham Brewery, and so on.
Hogsback, it sounds almost made up.
It's fantastic.
But it's where you are.
I know. And
how far north can you sell your beer? Because I would guess, I might be wrong, I would guess that the Northerners would be a bit resistant to these soft Southerners' beer.
You know, our beer goes down well in the north, actually. Just, yes, it does. And places like Leeds and, you know, Manchester. Yeah. We've got the beers up in Manchester at the moment, actually. They're up in the big Winter Beer Festival, the big Camera Beer Festival. And that's a great festival to go to, because anybody likes some of the old winter warmers, the darker beers and so on, actually, they go right up to about sort of 9 or 10% or something, you know, some really strong ones. But it's not the strength that's nice, actually. It's just the chance you get to try all the dark beers, the porters and the barley wines, the old style of it, which you don't get to try in London. The big beer festival in London tends to have all the blonde beers and all this sort of unusual fruity beers and
the fruity beers.
And they're terribly
Don't get me started on those orangey boom things.
Oh, I know.
That's just silly, that
terrible, isn't it, really?
It's like children's party drinks, I'm sorry.
Elderflower, all this sort of stuff. It is. It's like alcohol pops, isn't it?
When you go, do you have sort of professional shows and conferences and things where beers are... Do you swallow it, or do you spit it out like wine buffs do?
Well, thankfully, actually, they occasionally ask me to do some beer tasting and so on, actually, and that sort of thing. And in those instances, I do actually spit it out, because you've got so many to try. It's just crazy, really. I mean, it really is, you know, if you actually drank all the ones you were sampling, I think you wouldn't be able to judge the last ones. So, very good, though. I think just as you would with wines. And in fact, I'm a great believer, actually, you can get the same sort of taste out of a beer as a wine, because people like, when you sort of, you know, draw air in and you get the bouquet in the mouth and you sort of smack your lips like a strong cheese. You can do the same with beer, you know, make a bit of slurping noises and sort of, you know, taste the beer, because you should enjoy a beer, really, I think. You know, it's not something just to get drunk over or something. You should savour a beer as you would with a glass of port or something.
There's a new chef on the block called Heston Blumenthal, who's so good that I got his book given to me not once but twice at Christmas.
Good.
And he
Really?
was explaining the difference between taste and flavour. And he said the reason why we should make sure that our nose is working whenever we eat or drink anything is because taste is what happens in the mouth, but flavour is what happens in the nose.
Yes.
And you'd like him anyway, because he's putting beer in everything. He insists you must have beer to make your batter for fish and chips, because that's where it gets the bubble from.
You know, there's a couple of our customers, actually, at the middle of last year, they took a range of our beers and they put them into all the foods in that particular restaurant in this pub. They started off with all your sauces, and obviously, the steak and ale pies and so on, actually, they're the obvious ones, but they put it into some of the stuffing, for the poultry, and then they decided to pick a beer that you drink before a dinner, a style of beer you drink during your dinner, so doesn't interfere with the flavour of the food. And then it's something interesting at the end, to finish off it, almost like a liqueur or a barley wine or something, and that was nice, actually.
A pudding beer.
A pudding beer, that's right. Yes, a dessert beer.
Tony, we've run out of time, but it's been an absolute delight. That's 20 minutes that have so flown by. It feels like 3 and we've hardly started.
That's true, we haven't.
Can I finish that bottle of beer?
Always a pleasure. Great. Always nice having a chat.
Can I finish that bottle of beer?
You certainly can, with my pleasure.
Well, I'd say it anyway, but you can come again.
And you can take the train home.
I am. It's 5 to 3. You're tuned to BBC Southern Counties Radio. It's Tony
Stanton.
Tony Stanton. Great to know you.
Great.
Now it's solid. Solid as a rock. That's what this love is. That's what we've got. Solid. Solid as a rock. And nothing's changed it. The thrill is still hot.
Oh, you didn't turn away when the sky went gray. Somehow we managed. We had to stick together. You didn't bat an eye when I made you cry. We knew down the line we would make it better.
And for love's sake, each mistake, you forgave. And soon both of us learned to trust, not run away.
There was no time to play.
We build it up and build it up and build it up, and now it's solid. Solid as a rock. And nothing's changed it. The thrill is still
Knock, knock on wood. You understood. Love was so new. We did what we had to.
And with that feeling, we were willing to take a chance. So against all odds, we made a start. We got serious.
That's when time to dust.
We build it up and build it up and build it up, and now it's solid. Solid as a rock. That's what this love is. Oh, that's what
Well, that was fun, wasn't it? That was interesting. I wish I could share one of those beers with you listening to this, whether you're at home, not obviously if you're driving along. But what an absolutely charming man Tony was. And we're definitely going to invite him back again, because we only sort of scratched the surface, didn't we? We talked a little bit about his own family, but about what his current family are up to and everything. So we'll get him back. Lovely man. In the final hour of the programme, besides continuing to celebrate our beast of the day, the carousel horse, and another visit to Port Slade, our monk snatch with Nobs on place of the day and Alison Ferns, and still talking about boxing, we are down. We are down. Down like a ton of bricks on the letter J. Yeah, because of January. And can you think of anything good that begins with J? Jazz. Jaundice. The javelin, which is easily the worst athletics event of the lot.
Burgess Hill, Midhurst, Steaford, Uckfield, Shore.
At 8:05 this morning and sets this afternoon at 4:13. BBC Southern Counties Radio Weather. I'm Claire Woodling.
Excellent.
BBC Southern Counties Radio. The sound of Sussex.
Now, here's the thing for the third hour of the afternoon show this afternoon. Just hold that thought for a second. Still talking about boxing, if you want to celebrate Sir Henry Cooper, who was with us a little bit earlier on, talking about the new Sylvester Stallone movie, Rocky Balboa, which has him making a comeback in his 50s. Nobody's seen the end of the film yet, because he's filmed 4 different endings, apparently one of which is where he dies in the ring. But if you want to talk about boxing or celebrate Sir Henry Cooper, one of the great Englishmen of all time, and I say Englishman over Britain because there is something strangely very English about Sir Henry Cooper. And just as, I don't know, Barry John is not British, he's Welsh, so Henry Cooper is English, not... Am I right? You know what I'm talking about. 08459 570057. We cross to Port Slade, which is our monk snatch with Nobs on place of the day for a third, or is it fourth and final time? A little bit later on. Alison Ferns is there. Our beast of the day has been the carousel horse, but we're keeping that portfolio. That makes it sound so grand. That portfolio open. But in this hour of the programme, I want to talk about a letter. A culpable letter, a damnable letter. And if you don't think letters are important, then talk to anybody in advertising who will tell you that if you're making a product that it needs to go in the bathroom or the medicine cabinet, it has to have an X in it. If you put an X in the trade name of the product, it sounds medical. It sounds as though doctors approve of it. That's what they say. And they're not stupid. The same goes for the letter K. It has particular significance. Most people, when polled, will say that if they have to pick out one letter that smacks of evil, it is the letter K. And there's something else going on in the world of politics. Why are all our politicians now suffering from surnames that begin with the letters either A, B or C? Think about it. When was the last American president whose name didn't begin with A, B or C? When was the last Prime Minister whose name didn't begin A, B or C? Who's our next Prime Minister going to be? B. Who's the leader of the Conservative Party? C. Do you see my point? The same goes in France, in Italy, in Germany. So there's something going on with initial letters, which is what brings us to what we consider at this time of the year anyway to be the most culpable letter, which is J. I mean, January, your heart sinks the moment you actually have to pronounce the first letter, which is J. And the consequence is that almost every word, concept, human activity that begins with the letter J is damned forever. You think about it, what have I got? Is there anything good that begins with J? Jazz, rubbish. Jaundice, terrible illness. The Japanese, well, I don't want to be unpleasant, but javelin. Javelin is the most waste of time athletics activity of all. What's the most rotten thing that lives in the sea? Jellyfish. What's the most rotten thing that lives on land? Journalists. What about Jordan? Bless her, not the place. Well, then there's a place. What is the most dangerous and worrisome vein or part of your body? The jugular. Of course it is. And what's the biggest waste of time when it comes to street entertainment? Jugglers. The list is endless. Except, of course, when it comes to Jenny Day. 08459 570057. I grant it is a surreal concept, but we're up to it. Oh, and I married somebody called Jane.
One day I'll fly away
It's Randy Crawford. And one day I'll fly away at 3:15 on the afternoon show. BBC Southern Counties Radio. Talking boxing a little bit, talking monk snatch. It's Portslade, the place of the day. The carousel horse is the beast of the day, slightly unusual. But it's our J hour as well. When we're down on the letter J, you stop and think about it. I mean, January is such a dreadful month, and so, you know, and so many words that begin, concepts that begin, ideas, people. I mean, Jason Donovan and Jamiroquai, those were the best pop stars beginning with J I could come up with. It's just, there's no footballers. Well, there was a guy called Juninho, but that wasn't even his real name. Football team, St Johnson? No. The J thing doesn't work in sport, art, culture. 084, you think of a playwright or a great film that begin, oh no, Jaws. Yeah, but that, you know. 08459570057. That's popular culture. I'm thinking operas. Ken's on the line from Portslade. You were listening when we spoke to Sir Henry.
I was indeed, yes. Yes. Because I was the manager of Cecil G's in London, Shaftesbury Avenue, and I looked after all the theatre and the celebrities. And him and his brother, I sold them a camel hair overcoat each.
Do you remember those?
Oh, yes, yeah, very much so, in 1965.
Well, they were big then.
I also sold Tom Jones a raincoat.
Did you? What was the story?
In 1967.
Go on, what was the story there?
Oh, well, what, Tom Jones?
Yeah.
Oh, it was pouring with rain in Shaftesbury Avenue, and he came in, and the previous week I'd had Humperdinck in.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I looked after Val Doonigan for 5 years.
What do you mean you looked after? You looked after his
I looked at all the
clothes?
sweaters he wore. All the sweaters Val had, they came from me.
Are you the man responsible for the Val Doonigan look?
Yes, I am, yes.
Fantastic! Because we were trying to listen to Paddy McGinty's goat, but we couldn't keep our eyes off the knitwear.
Well, they came from Italy, a company called Baxter's in Italy, in Milan. And we used to have them flown over. And then what we did was I used to pick them up from the airport and go straight down to Shepherd's Bush.
Right.
And have them go before, they used to go before the cameras with them on.
Yeah.
So they didn't flash about, you know, is what they do.
Yeah.
Because of colour.
And what was he across the back, Henry? I'm guessing about 48.
Who, Henry Cooper?
Yeah.
No, Henry was only just about a good 44.
Was he really?
Yeah. I can't forget, I mean, Muhammad Ali came in.
Did he?
And had 3 leather coats, and he was only a perfect 44.
Out of Cecil G?
Yes.
How nice.
Yes, he came in, because I sent up to the office for the girls to let the autograph books to come down.
Okay.
And I asked him to sign them.
Yeah.
And I said to him, Mr. Clay, and this chap, he was 4 inches bigger than Muhammad Ali, and he said, Muhammad Ali. I said, whatever.
Whatever.
Yeah.
So, come on then, who else have you dressed?
Oh, Humperdinck came to me.
Yeah.
He wanted to change. He said, you look after Val Doonigan. So I said, yes. He wanted to change to knitwear. Well, he was about 6'2", and skinny as a rake in those days in the 60s. I mean, he was like a bean post.
He was a very good-looking boy, though, wasn't he?
Yeah. Well, Indian looking.
Yeah, well.
And anyway, I said to him, look, you sing romantic ballads.
Yeah.
To the ladies in beautiful evening gowns.
He needs lapels.
I said, you need lovely lounge suits and dinner suits, you know. Why, please release me.
And a frilly shirt.
And yeah. And eventually, he bought 3 lounge suits and 2 dinner suits.
What were they going for, those sorts of lounge suits, back in the 60s?
You're coming into Chesterbury was about 37 quid.
Yeah. Really?
Yes, most of the imports. I mean, we had the first Boss suits. In fact, I wore probably the first Boss suits. My colleagues and I, and Roland G, Michael G, we all bore Boss suits.
And where was the
Valentino ties?
Yeah, where was the Cecil G in Shaftesbury Avenue? Is that up the top
between
end?
The 2 theatres.
Right in the middle?
Yes, in the middle. It's now a pub.
Everybody my generation knows Cecil G because we used to aspire to it. Was there a Cecil G, or was that just a brand name?
No. There was Cecil, the Gov. Oh, yeah? He was, a wonderful man. He bought my first ticket for me to travel up and down from Brighton to London.
Because your Cecil G was by the clock tower, wasn't it?
No, our Cecil G's was in East Street.
In East Street? When was this?
Yes, on the corner of the Regent's Arcade.
When was this?
This was from 1962 G2.
Oh, right, early doors, as they say. Yeah, no,
You're talking about G2, perhaps, up in Western Road.
you are a few months older than me, so that's cool.
Well, I know. I'm 75 in January.
But sharp as you like. It's lovely talking to you. We must have you in, and you can give us your thoughts on famous people and what they wear.
I mean, I used to have lovely conversations with people like Mr. Pratt, Boris Karloff. He carried the England captain's bag, Percy Fender, in 1937, the tour of Australia. He was proud of it.
Bill
was
Pratt
proud
did?
of it. Eh?
Bill Pratt?
Yes, his name is Pratt.
I know.
And he carried Percy Fender's bag, the captain of England, on the tour of Australia before the war.
Before Frankenstein or after Frankenstein?
It was before. It was while he was working on movies. He gave up 2 major film parts to carry that bag because he was so into cricket. He was involved in the Hollywood cricket team, and he said, "But I can't play cricket, you know."
Wasn't he great as Frankenstein?
Yeah.
Come on, I can't be with you all day, but I can be with you a bit longer. I want to know some more people who came in and wanted a suit from Cecil G, and you sorted them out.
Time?
Yeah, go on.
Well, Des O'Connor. He bought the first. He had the first Brioni suit and first Brioni jackets. Which the Brioni suits of today are £2,500. The jackets were 35.
I'll tell you what.
The suits were about 48.
I'll tell you what. That's all gone now because these guys have to have so many jackets to do Countdown, don't they?
Yeah.
Different one every day, and they make 5 of them a day.
Yeah, something. Yeah.
I shouldn't think they're top of the range, but no offence to Des.
Oh no, Des was always a sharp dresser.
Yes, he was.
I mean, Jimmy Tarbuck was he was all right, but I used to take a little mick out of Jimmy with that silly little ring he wears on his small finger with a little bell on it.
He's a funny lad. So go on, who of all these people? This is a hard one, but we'll leave you with this.
Yes.
Who of all these people then you used to entertain you one way or another the most when they came in for a suit or a coat or whatever?
Harry Seacombe.
Oh, nice.
Harry came in and we had a Russian fur fox coat. And the old man G was downstairs and he said, came in, he bought some ties for the Labour conference or something, or the Labour dinner. And he came downstairs and we were showing him this coat. He put it on and we had these antique chairs. And he sat down in the chairs and in front of the mirror and he said, "Oh, beautiful, beautiful." So the old man thought he'd sold this coat. He got up, he said, "The chair." And that was Harry.
You got to write a book. I'm serious.
Oh, I know. I got things down. And anyway, can I tell you something?
Go on.
Of all the people that I met, and I met Burt Lancaster, Kirk Douglas.
Wow.
The girls in the office wouldn't believe it was Kirk Douglas because he's only 5'7".
He's not a big lad, is he? I sat next to him on a plane once.
Yeah, and he's very sinewy as well.
You wouldn't argue with him.
Yeah, but he was over here making a movie with Burt Lancaster.
Yeah.
And they came in and bought some bits and pieces.
Which
and
one was that then? Because they only did the Vikings together, as I remember. Was it that one?
Yeah. Yeah, it must have been, yeah, because they came in and they were at the coffee bar, and I know that I got the girls full dialing and said, "Come down, got Kirk Douglas, Burt Lancaster in the basement," and she came down, she said, "That's not Kirk Douglas, he's bigger than that." I said, "No." I said, "It's purely camera work."
Oh, God, yes, and standing on a box. Now, listen, you're good fun, and we've only scratched the surface, so will you ring me again sometime and we'll keep going?
Yes, as I say, I probably looked after. I did all those shirts for Sean Connery for the Bond movies with the Quaker cuffs.
Let's take the BBC equivalent of a commercial break, which is not a commercial break, but we'll talk to you soon. Thank you for your call.
Pleasure.
Real
Bye.
pleasure talking to you. That's Ken in Portslade. We're still in Portslade, actually, because Alison Ferns, whose uncle fought Henry Cooper and was disqualified for rabbit punching him, has been in Portslade this afternoon. She's been chased around by some very friendly hoodies, and spoke to a councillor who wouldn't be drawn away from his loving Portslade, the love of his life, for $5 million on the lottery. Are you there again, Alison? And who have you got with you this time?
Well, as you know, we're with the radio car, and Lloyd and the car are attracting huge amounts of attention here in Boundary Road in Portslade. Slade. He's actually been offering free technical advice here on the pavement to passers-by. One gentleman asking him what the difference was between broadband and something else. So he's doing his bit for the people of Port Slade. I, on the other hand, though, have got chatting to a lovely lady called Sue. You're a keen listener to BBC Southern Counties Radio, aren't you?
I certainly am, yes. Every day, as much as I can. Yep.
And you were listening earlier and you heard me talking about Port Slade and how people who are selling their homes here like to refer to it as West Hove. And you were shouting at the radio at me, weren't you?
I was. No, I'm living Hove, just down the road, not Port Slade.
Just off New Church Road?
Just off New Church Road.
I think you'll find that's West Hove.
No. It's Hove, actually.
Ah, you just had to say it, didn't you? Now, we've also been talking a bit on the show this afternoon about January and whether there's anything good about January or whether it is quite miserable. I mean, standing here outside the Tesco's looking around in the wind and the rain, it is looking a little bit bleak. You've had a very tough time recently over Christmas, but you're still very positive, aren't you?
Of course. Yep.
Tell us what happened over Christmas.
Well, between Christmas and New Year, my husband was taken into hospital and he had to have an emergency operation. Fortunately, he's home now and getting better, and they were very, very good in the hospital to him as well, Sussex County.
Can I ask what was wrong?
Yeah, he just had an operation on his bowel, but things are improving, and the nurses are looking after him. So I wish you well, Frank.
Is he listening?
He's listening.
Oh, tell him you love him then.
I love you lots, Frank, Holly and Elliot.
How long have you been married for?
27 years this month.
Who are Holly and Elliot?
That's my son and daughter.
Oh, okay. Where do they live?
They live with us, yes. They're teenagers, so...
Oh, I bet they keep you busy.
They're wonderful. Ever such good children.
Yeah.
I'm very lucky. No problem.
Thank you so much for having a chat with us.
Thank you.
I'll let you go back to your shopping. Are you going to Tesco's? You getting the dinner?
I'm going to get dinner now.
What are you getting tonight?
Oh, well, I think I'm going to give him fish tonight.
Fish? Yeah. That's good.
Yeah,
nice, healthy option.
Healthy, that's it.
Exactly. You take care. Bye-bye, Sue. Lovely to meet you. Bye-bye. Oh, what a sweetheart. Tommy, back to you.
Lovely lady, yes. Thank you very much indeed. So Lloyd is able to advise the public on how their technology works.
Not in this wind though, Tommy. I think we're going to get back in the car.
I don't blame you. I used to like standing around in Port Slade doing stuff. I having lived there, I was Father Christmas there once in the High Street.
Were you?
Just standing there with a bucket, like Father Christmas always does, stands with a bucket.
Was that with a bottle of beer as well?
Yeah, no, I'm enjoying that. Thank you for not asking. But I was stood there. This is so Port Slade, right? I was stood there with a bucket as Father Christmas, and these three young lads came up to me and they went, "Excuse me, we just thought we'd ask first. Would you mind if we rolled you?"
What? At least they asked first, I suppose.
And
How polite.
I said, "Listen, fellas, that's really kind of you, but no, I'm a bit tired and I don't fancy any hijinks." So they went, "Oh, fair enough," and off they went. Isn't that nice, being asked if you want to be beaten up?
Yeah, proper. How proper.
How proper West Hove.
Oh, look, there's someone beeping now. They're listening on the radio. Hello there, mate. Yeah.
Yeah, you drive safely, cocker. None of that showing off, whoever you are. Cheers, Ali.
Cheers.
I don't know. So there we are. I don't know if we're going to have a chance to visit Alison one more time. One more visit we'll make to Port Slade, Jenny Day decides, which is fantastic. We had great fun at Port Slade, because it's got a nice sort of hurly-burly about it. That's the thing. One of the things you notice when Alison goes out and visits different bits of our patch, I say our patch, it's an unusual patch. It's Sussex, Surrey and North East Hampshire. But you do get this tremendous contrast, which I dare say you get in other parts of the country, obviously, in other parts of the world. But there's this lovely contrast sometimes between the urban hurly-burly of certain places. We were in Crawley, we had a lot of fun, parts of Brighton, obviously. And then again, sometimes you find yourself in these absolute picture postcard places where people are just as bouncy, chirpy and up for it, but, you know, in a completely different way. Wonderful, great fun. It's it's 28 minutes past 3, so what we'll do is we'll get some important station information and then crack on. We're down on the letter J in this hour. If your name begins with J, I apologise, but not many people whose name begins with J have actually achieved anything.
Take one hopeful contestant and give them the chance to win a life-changing amount of cash.
I want to go to places that I've never been before.
The National Lottery 1 versus 100.
At the risk of making a fool of myself, I'll stick with red.
100 people hoping you lose.
I'm going to go with actors and actresses.
100 people hoping you leave with nothing.
It is an awful lot of money.
And you hoping you walk away with everything.
Dermot O'Leary hosts a new series of the National Lottery 1 versus 100, including the Lottery Draws Live, Saturday at 7:35 on BBC One.
Dermot O'Leary. Is he the bald guy? He's done How I Got News. He's quite good, isn't he? 08459570057. The J word. Because there's January for a start, and that could practically be for the finish. Anne has emailed jelly. Ugh. If I wanted to consume the spinal fluid of an animal, gelatine, I'd go to an abattoir with a straw. She's down on the letter J. I look back on my childhood with horror at the thought of how I delighted in my mum giving me a solid cube of jelly to eat before she made the jelly. Shivers, no pun intended. Is that what jelly is? Tissue from the spinal column? Mamma mia. Jude in Worthing, however, fights back for the letter J. She says, I love the letter J. Think jade jewellery. And also my name, Jude. Okay? And we've had quite a few nominations for words to do with, which begin with the letter J, which put a smile on the face of humanity. This is from Jan. Well, there you are, you see. She says that J hour. I like J. Jolly, jovial, jam, justice. Juniper, lovely smell. Jupiter, what a great planet. Is it? I heard that Jupiter was nothing more or less than hot air. I know what you're thinking. Our charity office, she says, is made up mainly of people with J names. They're all great. Jan, Jason, Julie, Judith. And the others are all C. You get this? This is odd. Chris, Carol, Colin and Caroline. She says, I am married to a J. John. Funnily enough, John's adapted computer reads out my name in a sort of a Stephen Hawkins type voice and thinks it is an abbreviation of January. So that's what it calls me. Isn't that great? Her name? No, it's not. Because we don't like January. Jan, I think you're going to have to give your husband's adapted computer a boot. Or a reboot. 08459 570057. Let's grab the travel from Chris.
Large fallen tree. Public transport now pretty much running okay. Still some delays to suburban services on South West trains. You can update us on 08459 570057. I'm Chris Lambert, BBC Southern Counties Radio Travel.
How's the wait listening going?
That's going very badly at the moment.
Is it?
Yeah, because of course my cold's come back, and being a man, of course I can't cope with anything else other than just feeling miserable.
Feed a cold and starve a fever. Aren't we glad somebody came up with that non-medical rubbish?
Absolutely. I shall go and eat my crisps again.
Go and get yourself some more chocolate.
All right.
Cheers. Now, I should be reading you the weather, but we had a guest in earlier, and he brought beer. What's going on? No, not drunk yet. The weather, we've got half an hour of sun up today, and it hasn't been too hot, has it? Too good out there at all. The temperature was 13.55, so the only thing you can say is that it was mild. Tonight, generally cloudy, further rain, perhaps heavy in places, 9 centigrade, 48 Fahrenheit. Wednesday, rain clearing through the morning, then mostly dry, sunny periods for the rest of the day, 11 centigrade, 52. Thursday to Saturday, rain clearing to sunny spells and occasional showers. On Thursday, further rain at times on Friday and Saturday, and quite windy.
Tommy Boyd on BBC Southern Counties Radio.
Well, the men come in these places, and the men are all the same. You don't look at their faces, and you don't ask their names. You don't think of them as human. You don't think of them at all. You keep your mind on the money, keeping your eyes on the wall. I'm your private dancer, a dancer for money. Do what you want me to do. I'm your private dancer, a dancer for money, and any old music will do. I wanna make $1 million. I wanna live out by the sea, have a husband and some children. Yeah, I guess I want a family. All the men come in these places,
Turner and Private Dancer. It's 22 minutes to 4 o'clock. It's the afternoon show, BBC Southern Counties Radio. Mike's on the line from Littlehampton. We're talking about the letter J. We're down on the letter J, but Mike has a theory. Hello, Mike.
Hi, Tommy. Yes, it's not exactly initials, but how about names of English cricket captains since around 1960?
Let's do it.
Such as Michael Colin Cowdery.
Yep.
Mike Dennis.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Brearley. Mike Gatting.
Good God.
Mike Atherton.
Michael Vaughan.
And the captain of the forthcoming B Tour, Michael Yardy.
Because Colin Cowdery's parents gave him the initials MCC on purpose, didn't they?
Yes. Because of those known as Colin, his first name was Michael.
Yeah. And the England football team's quite funny, isn't it? Because 30 years ago, none of us would have thought that you'd have an England football team that had at the back, for example, a bloke called Sol and a bloke called Rio. It just didn't seem, you know, because everybody was called Stan and Albert then.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a cricket aficionado, but I might have missed someone out. But it seems pretty remarkable over about 40 years.
Well, that's just first names. I think before MCC Colin Cowdery, I think you had Peter May, didn't you?
Yes.
Ted Dexter, of course, we don't care about him anyway. Silly old Foley one. Yeah, I mean, naturally there are exceptions, but... Yeah, you're right, it's a syndrome.
So that's 7.
Oh, yeah, sure, okay. What do you think about my theory about top politicians now all having surnames beginning with A, B or C?
I don't know any top politicians.
Good point, well made. Thanks for that.
Tommy?
Go on.
One thing, I spoke to you last week about the young German lady you whisked off the street.
Heike?
Yes. And I said you should give her a job on radio. Did she have any luck?
Well, you can't invent jobs.
No, I wondered if...
I'd have to fire somebody. Who have you got in mind?
You had some... well, if one comes up...
Don't get you started.
In the back room, you know.
It doesn't quite work like that, but, no, I tell you what, I found her so refreshing. I was tempted to ask her back to do something, but I don't know what, you see. What would you do? Have her back on air? Yeah, but what?
Yes.
Go on, tell me.
I'll give it some thought.
That sounds ominous. Okay, give it some thought. The thing is, the reason it worked so well as a little piece of 20 minutes radio, I think, is because she just didn't expect she was going to be on the radio as she came walking down the street. And then suddenly there she is, and she was a breath of fresh air because she was totally herself.
Yes, exactly.
And so much interesting stuff came out, like these German villages where they all interbreed still.
And there wasn't an or an R in the conversation.
Well, it might have been, but with that accent, you just don't know. Thanks for your call.
Okay.
Cheers.
Bye.
Mike in Littlehampton with a theory about the letter M. We're down on the letter J, because broadly speaking, it bodes ill. You think of all the words junctions. Do we like junctions? No. Jump jet. I mean, we tried so hard with the Harrier, didn't we, in this country, but I nearly said it never took off. But you know what I mean? Jewellery. I'm not a great fan of jewellery. Just like most men browse in camera shop windows, most women browse in jewellers, and, I'm not a great fan. Jumpsuits. Ridiculous item of clothing. Jiu-jitsu. That's no good. If you really need to defend yourself, surely it's karate or nothing. And jugglers. Unless they start dropping things, there's just no entertainment involved. OK, it's skillful, but so are people who carve violins, and you don't see them begging for money in the high street. 08459 570057. Here's Richard.
Hello.
Hello, Richard.
Hello there.
Hi.
I only rang because I was very interested in your talk on Portslade, especially Station Road.
Yeah.
Because I was born in Station Road in 1923 over the fish and chip shop.
Over the Athena B?
Sorry?
Was it... Well, it wasn't the Athena B then, was it?
No, it is now. It's a restaurant, isn't it?
Yeah.
And my brother ran it... Well, my parents had it, obviously, when I was born, but my brother ran it for up to... I don't know, about 30 years ago, and he retired, and then it became a fish restaurant.
I think a Greek family bought it, if I remember.
I believe so, yeah. You don't remember it as Ford's Fish Shop?
I didn't move to Portslade till 82, 3, 4, so no.
Oh, no. You're just a youngster.
Good fish and chips, though, but...
I say my brother ran it, and he was 87 yesterday.
Fantastic. Where's he now?
Oh, he's retired. He lives on Shoreham Beach.
Beautiful. Yeah, and you're obviously still in touch.
Oh, yes.
Good.
Yeah, it was interesting to me. I don't suppose it's particularly interesting to anybody else. I lived there for the first 7 years of my life.
I don't know, you see, that's the thing. Our patch of in which we broadcast is sufficiently big for, some people are listening 50, 60, 70 miles away from Portslade.
Right.
But on the other hand, it's close enough, I think, for us to talk about places as if you might visit them, even if you haven't yet. So, yeah.
I say it was very interesting to me to hear you talking about these places. I lived there for the first 7 years of my life, and then we moved just up the road into Portland Road.
Okay. Not many people.
Now I'm in Worthing.
Not many people move away from that part of the world, you know.
No, I know. I spent 55 years in Hove. Anyway, nice to talk to you.
Thanks for the memories.
Thank you.
Cheers. That's Richard there. He was born above what's now the Athena B. And the Athena B, I used to get my fish and chips there when they changed their name from whatever it was to the Athena B. And it was because of that huge cargo ship that was washed up on the beach at Hove. Do you remember? And that was called the Athena B, and for whatever reason, the fish and chip shop decided to call their fish and chip shop after a shipwreck. I don't know whether they've taken PR advice on that one. Laurie is next, and he's a swimming instructor. He's from Rye, and he's got some important information for us. Is it a he or a she, Laurie? Sorry.
Laurie, it's a he.
Hello, Laurie.
It's a Vulcan swim school. We operate on a Tuesday, Wednesday and a Thursday. And I've been told by the duty manager at Rise Sports Centre that the pool is at the moment closed today and tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's possible for me to tell all of our children, and we have a few adults tomorrow as well, all of our children not to come along, but it'll be a wasted journey.
Okay, well, thank you for that, Laurie.
Okay, thank you very much for allowing me to announce it.
Always a pleasure, not a problem. Thank you. It's 4:45. It's the afternoon show on BBC Southern Counties Radio.
Meet Louise from Hastings. Hello! Louise is trying to contact her old schoolmates for a reunion, but she keeps running up against a brick wall. This is Janet from Guildford. Hello! Janet would like to go on a foreign language course, but can't find the information she needs. And this is Mike from Bognor. Hiya! He's having trouble with his gas bill. Ow, my nose! Fortunately, Uncle Gordon's here to help. If you've come up against a brick wall or need an answer to a question, email fixit@bbc.co.uk and Uncle Gordon will do his best to make it happen. Uncle Gordon, solving your problems on BBC Southern Counties Radio.
In Sussex.
Bad day from Daniel Powter. It's the afternoon show on BBC Southern Counties Radio. Today we've been talking a bit about boxing for the over 50s with Sir Henry Cooper. Lots of interesting reminiscences from listeners who've crossed paths with Sir Henry. Our Beast of the Day has been the Carousel Horse. Talked to a very interesting man who can remember back several hundred years thanks to the way his family pass on stories. Our Monk Snatch place of the day is Portslade, and it's a Monk Snatch with brass knobs on because Alison Ferns has been posted at Portslade all afternoon. And you've had a lot of fun, Alison. What's going on at the moment?
Well, I've met a lovely young man just outside Tesco's here in Portslade. This is Luke. Hello, Luke.
Hello.
Tell us why today's such a special day for you.
Because it's my birthday.
Yeah, and how old are you?
7.
7. You're getting old now, aren't you, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Got to start thinking about the future. Have you thought about what you want to do when you're older?
Be a train driver and a taxi driver.
A taxi driver? I've heard of people want to be train drivers, but a taxi driver... OK, let's have a practice. You know, if you want to be a taxi driver, you've got to be able to say this. P.O.B.
Yeah. P.O.B.
That's it. You got the job. You got the job. But you really like train driving as well. And you were telling me earlier you got a great train set, didn't you, for Christmas, and more stuff for your birthday.
And I got more carriages for my plane, my bell train.
Wow. And you're going to have a birthday party on Saturday, aren't you? Yeah. Who's going to be there?
Ben, Sophie and Manuel and Emma and...
Is Sophie your girlfriend?
Yeah.
Is she? Is she very pretty?
Sometimes.
Well, we all have our off days, mate, you know. Typical man. Now, you're with your mum, Stella. You've been out shopping, haven't you, today? Yeah. What did you buy?
Some nuts for the birds.
Because you like to feed them in your back garden, don't you?
And another tub for my toys.
You need another tub. You've got so many toys now, you've got to get something else to put them in. And you were telling me earlier about your cat as well, weren't you?
Yeah. My cat is called Charlie.
And it's very fat, isn't it, as well, you were telling me?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, listen, happy birthday. Hope you have a fantastic birthday. Do you want to say hello to anyone?
No, thank you.
Don't blame you. Don't blame you. Sally, you're going to do us the honours of choosing our next Monk Snatch location, the place where I'm going to head off to next Tuesday. So Tommy's going to have a chat with you now and he'll explain how it works.
Okay.
Hello, lovely Stella.
Hello.
Can you hear me loud and clear? I'm going to start a machine going which is going to mention lots of places.
Okay.
All you have to do is say stop just as soon as you like.
Right, you're on.
All right.
Fleet, Watling, Ho, Crookham Village.
Stop!
Blimey, you don't hang around, do you?
No!
Hey?
I couldn't hear what it was saying, so I thought, oh, that sounded funny, I'll have that one.
Funny, love that one. So let's see where you've chosen then for the next Monk Snatch.
Bexhill.
Bexhill,
Oh, that's what
Alison, your
Bexhill says, right.
favourite spot.
Bexhill!
You love it in Bexhill.
Oh, you want to see Lloyd's face. He's thinking, oh no, that's too far to drive.
No.
No, we're looking forward to it. Next Tuesday, Lloyd and myself will hit Bexhill.
It is at the edge of our patch, admittedly.
Right at the very edge. But
And a
still
damp patch,
important
the
that we're
famous
there.
damp patch at that, but anyway, lovely. Okay, well, we say bye-bye to Portslade and the sometimes beautiful Emmanuel.
Yes. We'll let
lovely.
Luke have the last word. Do you want to say bye-bye?
Bye.
Bye.
Great.
Well done, Ali. Go and get some hot chocolate.
Will do. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye. And well done, Lloyd. Okay, so it's Bexhill, which is our Monk Snatch place of the day next week. And, Bexhill's fantastic. But I didn't really realise how important Bexhill is to Western civilization until I read Spike Milligan's, what was his first memoir about the army, when he was signed up at the age of 18. And he said that he listened to the Chamberlain broadcast that said that from this moment on we were at war with Germany. Milligan said, I like the we. Anyway, the point is he was stationed at Bexhill for about 3 years, where he learned not to be very much of a soldier and learnt various barrack room tricks, including the last turkey in the shop and something awful involving matches. But that was my first realisation that Bexhill has got a lot to offer. It's an interesting place, and I think Eddie Izzard, anybody anywhere that is remotely associated with Eddie Izzard has to be not half bad. 08459570057. It's the afternoon show on BBC Southern Counties Radio. My Part in Hitler's Downfall by Spike Milligan. Thanks to Jenny for that. That's the autobiography title I was thinking of. Andy has text, Tommy, the most shameful of J's have got to be Junkie. Yeah. Nice name. Joe Strummer. Love, Gino. Temporary traffic lights at Badger's Watch in Peacehaven causing long traffic delays. This is a texted travel flash. Thanks very much indeed to Andy. Temporary traffic lights at Badger's Watch in Peacehaven causing long traffic jams on the A259 back to Rottingdean. So thanks for that. Stand by for Drive this afternoon. Kerry, I believe, is going to be looking after... No, that's changed already. Jenny rushes off into the newsroom to find out who's going to be your host for Surrey Drive, Surrey and North East Hampshire. It is Mark Carter. Thank you for that, Jenny. Well done. And Richard Linfield is going to be looking after you if you're driving home Sussex, which is East Sussex and West Sussex. Already looking forward to tomorrow's programme, the fulcrum of which is going to be an earnest look at the world of the gymkhana. Because has there ever been an 8-year-old girl who didn't want a pony? And how do they get such small ponies for the gymkhanas? And what happens if you want a pony? I only had boys. Get well soon, Jack. He's out of hospital today. My eldest having an operation, blocked nasal passage. I told him to duck. No, that's a joke, Jack, if you're listening. Get well soon, mate. I'm going to spoil you for 2 weeks. So, yes, the gymkhana. Did you have a daughter who was pony mad? And did you cave in and get one, or rent one, or borrow one? 08459570057. As ever, you can text 07786 20 70 70 and email tommy.boyd@bbc.co.uk. To drive with the Hollies.
Bus stop, wet day, she's there, I say, please share my umbrella. Bus stop, bus goes, she stays, love grows under my umbrella. All that summer we enjoyed it, wind and rain and shine. That umbrella we employed it, by August she was mine.
The Hollies. I can never listen to the Hollies without thinking of a lad I went to school with whose name was Stephen DeBeega, and he used to play rugby, and whenever the pack went down, he used to scream, "Mind me, Hollies," and I think it was his word for his knees or something.
I don't think so.
Have you heard that phrase?
No,
Oh,
I
right,
doubt
well, you have
it was
now.
the knee.
I don't know.
It'll be his googlies.
Steady. Speaking of which, we've had a nice email from a man